Everyone, welcome to the official Heads Up Championship of the LA Poker Roundup. As you can see, we got Fausto, the coach, versus Ty, the voice. We got Beth, the Star Hall, versus #1 field reporter Franklin. For those not familiar with Heads Up, ranges tend to be wide. It tends to be a bit a more instinctual game. While it is a bit solved, it really comes down to mano y mano, figuring out what your opponent has and making the best of it. So it looks like Beth is taking a small lead over Frank. And it looks like Ty Dobbs is already a little bit up on Fausto. So we got a flop of Queen of Hearts, 3 of Spades, 4 of Spades between Ty and Fausto, with Fausto on the button. Also, for people not familiar, button acts first before the flop and acts last after the flop. Sea Cucumber with a raise pre. Beth is thinking. Oh, Beth with the 3-bet. As you can also see, we have no hole cards tonight, so it's just going to be me talking about the air. It looks like Frank gave up that hand. Beth takes it down. It looks like Fausto took it down with a pair of 3s. So you can see 9-3 of hearts on the button. Almost any suited card, I'm pretty sure you can be playing on the button, because the ranges are so wide. And only 2 players in Heads Up makes it such a fantastic format to play. Looks like Frank is betting about half pot, getting raised on the river by Beth, who is just playing so aggressive right now. On a board of Ace of Spades, Deuce of Clubs, Jack of Clubs, 4 of Diamonds, Queen of Diamonds, and Frank gives it up. Beth is starting to pull away a little bit, but we got plenty of poker left to play. Plenty of chips, very, very deep structure. Looks like Ty decided to limp the button. Fausto went for 4x, and Ty folds. I think Fausto, probably out of the 4, might be the most studied here, because he is, a professional poker coach. I'm pretty sure he has studied some of the Heads Up streets, at least, if not the BVB kind of spots, which is a good proxy for studying for Heads Up. For those who don't know me, my name is Derek Kwan. I am the host of 10-Minute Poker Tips. Please like and subscribe. Also the co-host of the LA Poker Roundup with Ty Dobberden, who is Ty Dobbs here on that screen with Fausto. Although we had just announced we are sunsetting the podcast. We will continue to keep the Instagram account up. Probably do some other fun stuff with the channel like this, and definitely still be playing poker with the community and all that good stuff. Ty wins with a pair of 5s on 7, 9, Ace, Jack, Jack, so you can see how little it takes to take a pot down in Heads Up. So you really just have to be very, very good at reading your opponent. So it looks like Frank is raising here. This could be a big pot up, and Beth folds. So Frank showing a little bit of aggression of his own and taking it down, and looks like he's pulled the stacks back to even. Nice job there, Frank. Beth is a formidable opponent. Beth took me down in the last round with a lot of aggression, and I am a Heads Up expert. I used to play Heads Up online on Full Tilt Poker. I was a Heads Up reg. Sit and goes Ty Dobbs and Fausto. Looks like there's a 4 flush on the board. Also, a 1-liner to a straight. Actually, no, there is not a 1-liner to the straight, but Ty does bet. And he bet pot, and he's definitely the type of player that's able to do this without a club. I think Fausto knows this, and looks like he's probably thinking about, when Fausto comes in for the big raise. So I think Ty's probably going to have to fold everything except for the Ace of Clubs here. That is a very, very big raise. Humongous sign of strength. Fausto's maybe the one player you might be thinking about calling it down with, and he does. He makes a fantastic call with the 10 of Clubs. I was just about to say that Fausto might be the player that you would try to call down with without the Ace of Clubs, because he's just sick enough to be able to pull a bluff like that off. You can see why Fausto is such a crusher. What a play that just didn't work, because Ty was able to sniff it out and make a good call. Caught that bluff. Frank is pulling a little bit ahead of Beth now, but again, we got a long match to go. This is best 2 out of 3, I believe, so we may be here for a while. Definitely help me out in the chat. Let me know if you have any questions. Let me know if you want to talk about any of the goings on in poker, local poker, regular poker, life stuff. I'm happy to chat about anything. Although it looks like the action is keeping me very, very busy. So it looks like Frank is not 3xing, 2.5xing on the button. Beth calls, Jack clubs, Jack hearts, 4 clubs. And Ty and Fausto looks like they are at a flop of Jack of spades, 8 of clubs, 3 of clubs, Queen of diamonds. Frank takes that one down. And check from Fausto to Ty on the button as he's thinking. Beth going for the min raise on the button against Frank. Frank coming with the 3-bet D. So it looks like Frank and Beth are really going at it. These guys are, and I think Frank just tried to show a bluff. I saw a deuce something flash on the screen there. So they're really going at it. Looks like, Ty is, definitely hitting hands. And when a player hits hands, a lot of hands and heads up, it is very, very tough to compete with that. I think when a player is running hot, you almost have to just sort of try to control pot size and try not to lose too much until their hot run fizzles off a little bit, and then you can kind of turn the momentum. Heads up is a very, very momentum-based game. So we'll see if Fausto can turn it around here, but he's starting to get left behind a little bit by Ty here. Ace of hearts, Queen of hearts, 10 of diamonds, 7 of hearts, 5 of diamonds. So 3-2 a flush. Looks like Ty with the 2-pair Ty is, maybe card racking a little bit here. It's going to be hard to compete against a player hitting hands like that, but Ty got a lot of those chips by making a fantastic call with just a 10 high flush off of a big raise from Fausto, it was just gangster street poker. No bloggers or no nothing. You just have to rep that ace of clubs or you don't. Beth wins a nice one. Still a bit behind Frank. Looks like Fausto went for a check raise on 5, 8, 10, 8. 8 of diamonds is a fantastic clip to continue, a hard card to continue with. Definitely raising a lot of 8s there. Looks like he's going for about 70-ish, 80% pot. Ty just snap calls that. King of diamonds on the river. Feels like an irrelevant card based on the run out on the play so far. So I think Fausto's going to have to kind of go big here. He might even go like 12, over. I was going to say like 150x pot. And that looks like what he's done. Very similar to what I would have done. Absolutely what he would do with an 8 here. Oh, and Ty just ships it. Looks like he's got it. If he's doing this, he's got it. So he probably has himself the 8. Yeah, so Ty's definitely... And Fausto gives him the tissue box. Looks like Ty is running Fausto a little bit over here, but definitely getting some good cards to help him out. Up here, we got Frank pulling away again from Beth a little bit. Frank and I, and looks like Beth goes for the 3-bet here. Looks like I'm not going to be able to get too many of the side stories in because the action is so fast. Queen of clubs, 10 of clubs, 4 diamonds. Beth continues, half pot. These guys are acting so fast, which is fantastic. But, tough for an announcer maybe. So Frank's thinking here. Ranges are so wide, it's hard to do range analysis, but, Frank calls. So Beth may check back here like ace highs and stuff, but looks like she has something. She's continuing again with half pot. So either draws or a pair, maybe Jack 10. I would probably do the same thing here. Ace hearts has to be a pretty scary card for both of them here. But Beth goes for it anyway. So Frank has to question this a little bit because basically what she's saying here is that she has probably 2-pair or better. If she's able to barrel off on an ace here, I guess maybe King Jack is in there somewhere. Looks like Frank is going for the raise here, and he does have the King Jack. Don't see what Beth had, but she probably had something better than 2 pairs. I think Frank could have gone even bigger there with the King Jack just because of the perceived strength of Beth's range. While I was watching that table, I don't know how Fausto clawed back, a good 1,200 in chips. you know, if you're watching on the stream, I think you can probably go figure it out for yourselves. King of clubs, king of spades, 4 hearts. Looks like Fausto with the betting lead here on the button. Goes 25% pot. Quick fold from Fausto. So are the winds shifting in Fausto's direction? Let's see how this goes. Frank, Beth, 3, 8, 3. Looks like a lot of paired boards, a lot of paired flops. Paired flops are interesting to navigate, definitely from the blind position, out of position. Definitely go for a lot of check raises on those kind of low paired boards. Queen of spades on the turn. Looks like Beth checks to Frank, check back. Interesting card with the 8. I think it's probably going to go check. Oh no, so Beth is going to go for it here. And Frank does give the fold. Beth definitely doesn't need to have it to bet. Very aggressive, very good player. She's known as a Hollywood star, actress with a lot of fantastic shows and movies on her resume, but she has become a crusher of a poker player. As a side note, she did, looks like Ty took another one down. She did get some coaching from Fausto and is a disciple of the Faraz Jaka stable of coaching, you know, superstars. Fausto also came from the Jaka, but actually as a coach, so he was a Jaka coach and now he's off on his own. His own coaching site is called Blueprint Coaching. If anybody wants to get some coaching, definitely go check that out. Looks like Fausto betting about half pot here. 7 of clubs, 9 of hearts, 4 hearts, 2 hearts. So this is going to be a really interesting matchup. So Fausto is obviously a very, very aggressive player himself, but very, very technical. But Ty is very loose, very wide, very aggressive player. Isn't like super GTO study, but he is, you know, very, very strong field player. So that's going to be a very, very fun matchup there. Fausto going for a little bit of min raise. Looks like Ty is coming back with the 3-bet. I don't think Fausto's probably going to fold this one here. Ace of diamonds, 3 of clubs, 4 of spades. So Ty, you know, definitely has a lot of weird low cards that he's doing that with sometimes. Bets about a half pot here. So I think Fausto, yeah, this is probably going to have to be it. That ace is a very tough card. So that fact that he calls here is interesting. So look, it feels like neither of these guys should have a deuce here. So this is probably going to slow it down quite a bit. Fausto might try to rep it here though. So let's just see what he does. But Fausto obviously probably understands that Ty shouldn't have too many deuces, so he might just go for value with ace jack, ace 10 type of hand. Oh, and Ty goes for the rip. This is a tough spot, so looks like, oh, Fausto maybe didn't have anything. He didn't really take too long to fold that hand. Not sure what Ty had there, but you know, I'm not sure if he repped the deuce, maybe had the deuce. Hard to rip it without the deuce, so it looks like it's shove time for Fausto. What are we at here on the blinds? 50, 25. So he's got about 20 bigs. Ty is being very aggressive here with another 3-bet. So maybe the 2 dads here are just trying to get to bed. Who knows? Again, congratulations to Ty for just having a baby, and also Fausto himself had a baby not too long ago. Ty bets about half pot here. A little bit less than half, like 40% pot. Fausto folds on a 9 deuce 10, and Ty wins another one. This is a bit of a steamroll here on table number 2. Oh, it looks like Frank is pulled away from Beth. I've been paying a little bit too much attention to the bottom table here, but it looks like Beth is going to get some back with a straight. But Frank is still holding, roughly a 2-1, a little bit over a 2-1 chip lead. Ace, Jack, 6-5 for Ty and Fausto. So Fausto's got about 2-1 SPR. This feels like a check. Oh, and Fausto does go for it. Ty does fold. Clearly, Fausto is not going down without a fight. $44 in the pot. Beth goes half pot on ace 3, 7, 6, 8. This could be a raising hand for Frank. Let's see how this goes. Oh, Frank decides to just fold. I suppose Beth being out of position, I missed the pre-flop action, but as long as she just called, that's definitely the type of board that favors her. So I think Frank probably made a good decision to not do anything crazy there. 2-12 in the pot here. Jack 4, King, Jack Deuce. Looks like Ty is top pair. Ty is definitely showing down a lot of hands that it feels like, you know, some of the hands that he put Fausto in would be pretty wild bluff if he bluffed. So I think Ty is definitely getting a lot of cards here. Fausto with the 3-bet over Ty's limp and fold. And definitely that's one of those things too, you know, a little bit of pro tip for people who pull ahead in heads up matches. You don't have to go crazy trying to get the rest of their chips in, because the blinds, especially if you're playing sit and goes, the blinds are working in your favor because they're putting a lot of pressure on that small stack, and you can just kind of sit there and put your foot on their neck, metaphorically, while the blinds also increase that pressure on them. And then kind of just wait for them to make a mistake. You don't have to obviously just like knit it up and wait for ace king or something to get it in there. But, you know, you don't have to be putting it in there with like 6 deuce offsuit or something like that. Not necessary. Frank betting half pot on 6-9, 6 queen against Beth, who calls on the button. Beth is not somebody who likes to fold. So it's definitely going to be tough for Frank, who tends to, you know, have some audacious bluffs. He pulled a crazy bluff in a live tournament. We were very, very deep close to the money, and he put in like this, he had something, you know, probably in the top 25% of chip stacks, and pulled a huge bluff against somebody who had a ton of chips. Would have worked if that guy didn't have, you know, middle set or second set. But Frank definitely has that, you know. Fausto, tie on a river, 3-3-6, ace 4. Check from Fausto, 424 in the pot. Looks like Ty's thinking. Feels like a bet. Yeah, he overbets. It's about 120% pot. Tough spot for Fausto here. It's about half his stack. He might call with the king high. Oh my God, and geez, Ty got a straight. Ty, you know, at least from the showdowns, Fausto just gave him the horseshoe. Ty does seem to be card racking quite a bit here in that heads up, but you know, it is a best 2 or 3, so we'll see how this goes. But wow, Ty is showing out a lot of monsters here. Tough one for Fausto. Again, that is very, very hard to overcome when somebody's making a lot of cards in heads up. You don't really have a lot of wiggle room here. Frank with a sizable bet. It looks like about 75% pot. No, actually about 80% pot on 4 clubs, ace of diamonds, 5 of clubs, 9 of clubs, and Beth goes for the raise, repping the flush. What is so Frank's going to have to decide here if she has a flush or not. Might be tough to continue with, you know, even an ace type of hand, but Frank looks like he gives it up. And Beth is pulling back. Beth is not going down without a fight. Tie, Fausto, 268 in the pot, 586 back for Fausto. Fausto's probably going to be looking for a jam on some favorable boards for him. Over jamming pot's kind of okay. Fausto's using all the emojis or whatever you want to call them on Poker Stars right now, giving the tissue box. These guys are having a good time. Looks like Frank takes another one. He's really himself right now, keeping the foot on the gas here versus Beth, putting a lot of pressure on her stack. She seems to, you know, creep up over 4K and then gets kind of punched back down again. We'll see how this goes. So Beth is definitely not going to go down without a fight. Tie bets again, pretty sizable, about 75-80% pot on 6 of clubs, 3 of spades, king of spades, 8 of spades, king of hearts. Fausto calls with just a little bit over pot left behind, and he checks, so it's like Ty's probably going to put him in here. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. And Fausto's going to have to decide who's going to want to call off here. I feel like Ty has something huge. He probably has like king 10 or something like that. All right. So looks like Fausto is on fumes. Limps, I think, yeah, limping on the button when you're this short is probably a pretty good strategy when you get down like this. Try to see some flops when obviously you should be starting to fold the very, very bottom of your range and not trying to just connect because you don't have a lot of room to maneuver. And that is in itself not too different than, you know, what regular poker might be. Frank with the raise on the button. Ace clubs, 10 of diamonds, 9 of hearts, check fold from Beth. Frank keeping a lot of pressure on. You are watching the LA Poker Roundup. Heads Up Championship. So we got some commentary on the side here, so it looks like Ty's telling us that he had 5-7 on the king hand, but I don't remember what the run out was. I don't know if 5-7 made something. All right, looks like Fausto, Ty, checking down, queen of clubs, 10 of clubs, 3 of diamonds, 7 of clubs on the turn. We have Frank betting half pot into 9 of diamonds, jack of spades, 2 of hearts, 8 of diamonds, 5 of spades, and Beth finds the fold. 8 of diamonds. On the river. Sorry, I had a little bit of a little moth flying around here. So Fausto gets a little bit back. The blinds are 35-70, so now Fausto's looking at about 12-ish bigs. Getting pretty short here. And then Ty sitting on piles. Beth bets half pot and gets a call from Frank on 3-6-10 with an 8 on the river. And looks like Beth out-pipped Frank. Pair of 10s versus a pair of 7s, and Beth climbs back over 4K again. Ty betting about half pot into 9-9-4-8, queen of diamonds on the river, 456. So it looks like Ty checks. I think Fausto might up, and Fausto just decides to go for showdown value. Good play. King highs are often pretty good in heads up play. Beth going for the raise. Frank going for the call, 4 diamonds, 9 of diamonds, deuce of hearts. Beth going for half pot. Definitely a board texture that Frank can continue on, and he does. 7 of hearts on the turn. Beth goes for, so Beth is definitely repping that she has something here, but it's a very, very drawy board. I think Ty just out-kicked Jack 8 over Jack 5 on some board run out. Man, Fausto's running pretty bad. Ace of clubs on the river with 1K in the pot, and looks like Frank mates a wheel on the river, decides not to lead, trying to go for the check raise, taking advantage of Beth's aggression, but Beth smartly checked back. Frank maybe lost a little bit of value, but won another important pot. Fausto slowly climbing back over 1K, but still a bit in danger zone. Jack of clubs, 4 diamonds, ace of diamonds, 10 of spades on the turn for Beth and Frank. They're checking it down to the ace of clubs on the river. Looks like Fausto betting half pot on ace 7 deuce and gets a full from Ty. So Fausto with a little bit of momentum, feels a little bit like a snowball rolling down a very, very not steep slope, but it's moving along. Beth limps the button. Frank thinking. Frank goes for a big raise and gets a fold. 9 of diamonds, 6 of hearts, 5 of diamonds, 10 of hearts with 298 in the pot, 6 of spades on the river, pairs the board. Does bring in 7-8. Well, 7-8 actually would have flopped it, so Fausto bets about a third pot. Ty's thinking. 6-0, and he's got a boat. Surprised that Fausto didn't go a little bit bigger with the boat there, because, he must have just had a good read that maybe, Ty just called with an ace high or something like that. Fausto definitely, I would have probably gone a little bit bigger, just hoping that Ty had connected with that board with something. 6-6-3-10, but, Ty is a coach, so I don't, probably knows that spot better than I do in theory. Beth bets about half pot on 4 king queen with the button. Looks like with the size of the pot, this was a single raise pot. Frank calls, deuce of spades on the turn, check. Beth checks back, 6 of clubs. Feels like somebody's got jack 10 here. Somebody missed. Frank goes for the check. Beth thinking, goes for a bet. Frank snap calls, and Beth had the king queen top 2. You know, interesting check on the turn there. I think Beth went a little bit trappy, but I think it's fine. But probably, you know, with that type of hand, you just want to keep going for value. I think Frank is probably not folding pairs, probably not folding Jack 10. And with the snap call on the river, you might have lost a little bit of value there, but that's okay. Fausto takes another one from Ty. Looks like he's pulling up to 1603, so that's not bad. He's already, you know, more than doubled his stack. Since the getting down to the bottom of like 700 or something chips, whatever he had. Beth is still keeping in at 4K. This could be a long match between Frank and Beth. Frank keeps, you know, doing a good job keeping the gas pedal on and keeping her down. But Beth just is not giving up, man. Back up to 4K. Fausto with a button decision goes for the min raise. Ty calls. Ace 8-4. Definitely favors button range. So Fausto's most likely continuing about third pot plus 25% pot. Ty calls, 9 of diamonds. 438 in the pot. Beth. Fausto goes B80 and Ty gets the fold. And Fausto just almost got the 2K. Obviously had to put in the blinds, but making a pretty good comeback here. Looks like a raise from Beth on a turn of 3-10 King 5 and gets the fold from Frank. Ty continues on 9-10 4, gets the fold from Fausto. These people are battling. Give it up. What a heads up match this is so far. You know, maybe some background music would have been good. I haven't streamed in a long time, so I don't know how to do anything. It took me a while to even just set up the stream. But, you know, if we do another round of these, I'll have some background music. Looks like Beth betting half pot on 8-4 ace deuce. Here comes the raise from Frank. Frank just has that, you know, raise button, and it's hard to tell sometimes, you know, when he has it or he doesn't, which makes him such a good poker player. You know, usually when he flashed the cards, it went a little bit too fast, but feels like when he does that, it's a bluff. So I think, but, you know, unfortunately, I don't think it's having the effect that he wants it to, because it's just going too fast to be able to see, and Beth doesn't realize that Frank's probably bluffing her. Wow, what happened here? Fausto back up to 36.53. I was watching the wrong table. Looks like Fausto made quite a comeback here. Now, so this is what I mean about momentum shifting in heads up play. You just kind of have to ride out hot streaks sometimes. And then when you can get back there, then you can kind of turn the tables, turn the screws, and it's a very momentum-based game. But obviously, Ty isn't going to give up here. We got raise from Beth on the button, fold. Raise from Ty on the button, fold. Fausto jammed ace 8 suited on my ace king and hit an 8, so it looks like Fausto got really lucky to and had a pretty big suck out, or else Ty would have had the match. Looks like we got a 3-bet here from Ty. So Ty's 3-bet percentage hasn't been super high, so I think Fausto can fold that a little bit. Actually, on both tables, I've been seeing a ton of 3-betting, but probably feels like just, you know, a tick or two below, you know, maybe what theory would recommend, but still fine. Everyone is still being quite aggressive. Looks like Beth is pulling almost even. Back to Frank. What a battle we have up here. We got a raise from Fausto on 10-10-3 against Ty. We got a call from Ty, 5 of spades on the turn, bringing backdoor flush draw. I think Fausto has to continue here. Probably up, and Fausto does go for the check back. Interesting check back here. You could be checking back a 10. You could be checking back air. Fausto is very, very tough and well-studied player. 772 in the pot between Frank and Beth. Ty decides to go for the pot here. 70% pot-ish. Looks like Fausto calls 3 of diamonds. Very, very interesting card on the river. This could draw a check, but we'll see how this goes. I think a 3 probably needs to check back here. And Fausto wins it with the 5. So that makes sense now. So that makes sense that he paired enough on the turn to go for a little bit of pot control. And looks like he has pulled back to even. What a match we have there. And looks like Beth is now pulled ahead of Frank. Beth just did not give up on that barrage that Frank was putting on her, bluffs and just crazy, crazy pots back and forth. Beth holding her own against a very, very talented player who took number 2 in the POY last year over myself, number 3, just behind Elvin Bayo in number 1. And if that top 3 wasn't enough for you, we had Mark Fiorentino and a whole bunch of other crushers sitting in the top 10 and obviously littered all over the POY standings. What a finish from Frank last year, but you can see from his play why he got that POY. Wasn't a fluke. 624 in the pot. Jack 3, 8, 4, 6 to the river between Ty and Fausto. Fausto checks. I wasn't following the action, so I don't. Well, Ty's going to go for it here. Ty is very, very aggressive better, as you can see. He will just stab and stab and stab at a lot of pots, whether he has it or not. So we're looking at 60-70% pot here. Fausto has a decision. You know, that might be one of those ones you could be thinking about a king high there, but he does decide to just give it up. Punching back and forth, back and forth. Looks like Frank pulling back to almost even with Beth. This is just going to go. So certainly we're not going to be going to round 2. We've already gone 30 minutes, and both of these tables are still even stacks in round 1 or round 4. I guess this is round 4, but let's just say the first round of the final 4. And we still have best 2 or 3, I believe. So we're going to have at least one more match at each table. But then obviously if the winner of the first round wins the second round, it was over. Beth, half pot, call. And she has 2 pair. Beth herself is card racking a little bit now over Frank. And momentum seems to be going a little bit towards her. We'll see how that goes. She limps the button. Frank checks. Fausto, tie, 2-2-4 in the pot. Fausto goes a little bit under, about 40% pot on 7-4-7. Jack on a turn. Tie called the flop bet. Now there's a jack on a turn. Check from Ty. I think Fausto goes for, about 60% pot, and it looks like you got a fold out of Ty. You can see almost just in the way that Fausto bets his bet sizing. He's a very, very GTO heavy player. And when I say GTO, it's just that a lot of his plays seem like equilibrium, and it's not based on hand strength. It's really just based on what he thinks is the appropriate play for a specific scenario across a specific board. This makes a lot of these players really, really tough to play against. Obviously, this is why there's this emergence of GTO in No Limit Hold'em. Looks like a pot-sized bet from Beth on the river. 5-9-9, King 8, boat. Oh, that was a big one. Frank took a big hit there. Beth definitely card racking right now. Ty with the min raise on the button over Fausto. Fausto comes back with the big 3 bet, gets the fold out of Ty. So now the blinds, so having gone 30 minutes, the blinds are at 5,100. So with even stacks, you're looking about 50 BBs effective. But down over here on the Frank and Beth table, looks like Frank is down to about 20 BBs, but he took a nice one there, so now he's back up to 2,700. Still staying in it. A lot of heads up when you are up against a player running hot is just trying to stay in it, buying yourself some time so you can make a comeback. And it's really funny too, there's so many heads up matches that I played on, when I was a heads up reg. I have 20-1 chip deficit sometimes that I would come back from, so I typically don't sweat being very, very far behind in heads up. You can always find your way back. Only takes a couple of double ups to pull within striking range, and all of a sudden your opponent starts feeling a little bit of demoralization that they had you, and then bam, you put the screws in them and win, and it just feels so good to make a comeback. Beth winning another one, pulling back up over 7K. Looks like Ty is betting 300 into a pot of 824. Gets a call from Fausto on 5 ace queen 10 jack. Very interesting river card. Can incredibly rep a king from both people. So it looks like Ty's going to go for the rep. 1424 pot size bet. Fausto may not need a king to call down, but looks like he just didn't have enough to call there. Min raise from Fausto on the button. Looks like Ty is pulling ahead of Fausto once again. Min raise from Beth on the button. Frank calls 9-4-3 on the flop. Ace King 9 on the flop for Fausto and Ty. Beth takes that one down. Ty bets half pot into 9 Ace King. Fausto calls 7 of hearts on the turn. Now we got 2 flush draws on the board. Check, check. 5 of diamonds on the river. I think Fausto may go for a lead here. Let's see. Oh, he does go for the check. Check, check. Yeah, no need to lead with 9s. Obviously, you're just praying to get the showdown. It would have been interesting if Ty had won 150% pot. I still think Fausto probably would have called that down. Limp on the button. Check. 10, Queen 8 on the board for Ty and Fausto. Limp on the button from Beth. Big raise. 5 over 5x raise from Frank and gets the fold. Frank does not mess around with his 3-bet sizing. He's going to go full 5x, and you're going to want to play a big pot or not. Min raise from Ty on the button. Takes it down. 6 King Ace on the flop. Beth bets, gets the fold. So interesting, tidbit I learned about Fausto. He was a professional paintball player before he went professional poker, so that's interesting. I'm pretty sure there are some good paintball poker jokes to be had, but I couldn't think of any. So anybody in the chat can think of a good paintball poker joke, let me know. I can read it on the air. But maybe up, and Fausto goes for a big overbet here on turn. 10-7-6 deuce gets the fold out of Ty. And looks like I wasn't following the action, but Beth hit a straight on the turn. Won another decent pot from Frank, and Frank is now below 2K again. So Beth definitely hitting some cards right now. And Frank is playing some defense, trying to ride this hot wave coming from Beth. Very interesting board. 4, 5, 3 deuce with 3 spades. Very, very connected board. All low cards. I think Ty, So, Ty's betting this on the button, but because Ty is so wide, heads up ranges are so wide as it is anyway, but Ty can incredibly rep just all low cards just because of the high ranges that he tends to play. Bets half pot with the king and diamonds on the river. Fausto has to decide what to do here, and he does call with the ace. And he had the straight, so nice play from Fausto. I wouldn't exactly call that a trap, but more of like a pot control-y type of hand, and no reason to raise the river because Ty is not going to call you, and if you just get ripped on, it just sort of sucks. So no need to play an inappropriately sized pot with the bottom end of a wheel there. Beth, Frank, 8-8, 4, 6 deuce, 968 in the pot. Half pot bet from Beth, going for value with 5s, but Frank had a pair of 9s. So Beth value on herself, but that was obviously a very reasonable bet with a pair of 5s there. And good sizing, half pot's about right. Ace, jack, deuce, jack, 2-2-4 in the pot. Bet about half pot from Beth, and she takes it down. Fausto takes down a board, queen 7, 9, 7, 10 from Ty. Another funny story from Fausto is that he met his wife playing poker. So she's also a poker player apparently, and she actually invited him to a cash game because she thought he was a whale. Little did she know how good of a poker player Fausto either was at the time or eventually became. But that's a funny story, but it looks like the two of them took that relationship, that poker relationship, into a marriage and a family, and happily ever after, as they say. Queen 3-3-4-8 between Frank and Beth. 8-48 in pot. Beth goes half pot. Frank is thinking. Looks like got a raise from Ty on queen, king, and Fausto finds the fold, and looks like Frank rivered a flush on Beth there. So it looks like he called with the flush draw on the turn, hit the, I'm pretty sure there was a bet on the river. I don't think Frank would let that go without a bet. Nice pot. Ace, jack, 5, 2-2-4 in the pot between Frank and Beth. Looks like they check to the turn of 7 of spades, 2-4-8. Fausto goes for a little bit under half pot. Gets a call from Ty. 10 of hearts on the turn. Check from Ty. It looks like Frank rivers 2 pair and beats the king high of Beth on the other hand. 6-40 in a pot. Deuce of hearts on the river. Check from Ty. Fausto is definitely going to check back. Yeah, his value hand there with the 4. Looks like Ty chased him all the way down with king high. $939 on the board, $340 in the pot between Ty and Fausto. Yeah, Anthony's saying that Fausto's wife wanted the poker bankroll, ended up getting his life roll. Yeah, I think that was a pretty good trade-off, man. Fausto's a good dude. But I think she also probably got the bankroll too, in the end, if, you really think about it. Raise from Frank on the button. He went over 3x. Oh no, it's 200, so we have 1.5. Wow, we're at 100, 200 blinds already. Takes it down on 10 something. King 8-7. Ty and Fausto 640 in the pot. Fausto on the button goes for half pot. Ty with the call. Ty is just not folding. He's like 100% almost call on flops, C bets. That's got to be very, very tough to play against. Jack of spades on the turn. Fausto goes big. Well, not big, 80%. I think it's probably about standard. And he gets the call from Ty. This is going to be a momentum shifting pot here. 36-72, 17-32 back for Ty. 9 of diamonds on the river. 7, king, 8, jack, 9. 10 makes a straight. He has the king. Oh, he got out-kicked by Fausto. That could have been curtains if that 9 hadn't hit. I think, Ty was pretty lucky there for that run out. Looks like Frank is pulled away from Beth again with 63.75 in his stack. Beth goes for a pot-sized bet on queen, jack, 10, 3, 4 hearts, deuce of clubs in the river. Gets a fold from Frank, and she pulls back over 3,600. Man, these are just absolutely battling out here. Great commentary. Thank you, buddy. Thank you. Anybody who wants to hire me for commentary, I am your man. Fausto, big lead, and we got a jam from Ty, fold from Fausto, so it looks like it's jamming time with 200 BBs. 200 big blind, while Ty has 1,600, 1,500 in his stack. Although not necessary. I think you can do some min raising all the way down to 7 bigs or something like that, 6 bigs before you start really thinking about jamming. But obviously you want to probably be jamming some of your small pairs and your like ace 9s type of hands, ace 8 type of hands that may not play super well post flop, but have a lot of equity pre. Somehow Beth has pulled back. Every time I look away from Beth and Frank's table, there is a momentous chip shift. I don't know what's happening. So I think for everyone else who's probably watching both screens effectively, you're probably laughing at me as I'm missing like big action. Frank again going for a massive raise on his 3-bet and getting a fold from Beth. So, Frank's 3-bets are very, very aggressive. He's making you play big pots, so you're going to have to choose to go with it or not. Sometimes that can bite you in the butt a little bit when somebody wakes up with aces and you lose a little bit more than you wanted to. But, most of the time, though, you are putting people in pretty tough spots with that size 3-bet. Looks like Fausto's asking Ty for all of it. Ty does go for the ace high. It looks like Fausto has outflopped him so far, and he wins the first match, hitting the pair of kings. Looks like Fausto took the first match from Ty. Very, very tough match. Looking forward to match number 2. We have Beth up here, 680 in the pot. Looks like Frank goes for a pretty big, sizable bet on the river on 2 king, queen, 6-5. Takes it down. Fausto luck-sack, Ty says. So Fausto definitely ran, I think Ty ran well in the beginning. Fausto ran really well at the end. Big suck out on that ace-king, the ace-king, ace-8 hand to get back into the match when, Ty actually had it. This is best 2 out of 3, right, Frank? Yeah, Frank, Beth, pot of 680. 8, deuce, 10, 4, ace. Frank wins with a pair of 8s. Pulling back again. Oh wow, what a match. I feel like, we've looked at 4-1, 5-1 chip lead, and each time the opponent has clawed their way back into the match, almost even in stacks, but now the blinds are getting up there with a 200 big blind. Fausto with the evil laugh in the chat. Were we this whole time, Fausto? Yes, best 2 out of 3, Frank says. So I think, Frank, do I need to like switch the table? Is there a new table or can I stay on the same table? 7 of hearts, 10 of hearts. Looks like Frank hits the flush on Beth. Pulls a little bit ahead now in chip lead. Actually, I'll just go check the logging myself. Let's see what's going on over here. Fausto, oh, there's a match 1, so there must be a match 2. So it looks like I got to get over onto a match 2. Where is the LA Poker Roundup home game? We got just, oh, no. Oh, I think Frank needs to set up round 2, maybe? I don't know what's going on here. I will just wait for Frank to do something. Club lobby, LA Poker Roundup. Hold on. Yeah, I only see the 1 table so far, so we'll have to wait it out a little bit here. Yeah, he says got to create a new table. So while we only have 1 table sitting here, I can read a little bit off about Frank's background. He's been a transactional attorney since 2000, practicing corporate law, representing emerging growth businesses and small to middle market entrepreneurial clients. If you need a lawyer, Franklin is your man. I can tell you with how argumentative Frank can be about things. He's a tough lawyer, and he's going to make you prove your points. 6 of clubs, 3 of hearts, king of diamonds, 4 hearts, 14, 16 a pot. You can see these pots are getting pretty big. 10 of hearts brings the flush in on the river, already a straight on the turn. Beth bets about half pot here and gets the fold from Frank. Frank one time cashed in 2 tournaments on the same day in 2 different casinos. Big deal who hasn't, in 2 different states. But both tournaments were day 2s or later, and I was physically present for both tournaments, so that's pretty crazy. He qualified for day 2 of the major tournament of the bike with the top 5 stack, but day 2 was still a week or so away, so he went to WCP and played the monster stack and made day 3, which was the same day as bike day 2. Busted the monster stack with less than 100 players remaining, and then drove back to LA while my stack was blinded away for about 4 hours. So it looks like he picked the monster stack over the bike day 2, which is a smart thing to do. When I arrived at the bike, I had about 1/3 of my stack remaining in the small blind. Richard Lim said, "So this is your stack. I've been putting in your blind for the last 4 hours." What a story to be able to cash 2 big majors in 2 different states. Beth Hall, as I mentioned in my promo, those who didn't see it, is a movie star who stars on shows like Mom, previously on Mad Men. I remember one time I was watching Curb Your Enthusiasm and I was like, there's Beth. So Beth pops up in a lot of different places. Pretty cool. But looks like she took, she's still, I think Mom is still running from what I know. So she's still starring in that while moonlighting as a very, very good tournament player, playing at almost a professional level, in my opinion. Crushing fields, often the last woman standing, but not just a good woman player, but just an incredible poker player in general. She was the only female, by the way, to finish in the top 10 in the POI this year for the LA Poker Roundup. And we're back to even stacks here, so it looks like the Beth Frank match is going to go on forever, maybe. Frank going again for the huge raise from the blinds. Beth, if you wanna play a 3-bet pot when Frank is out of position, you're gonna have to play a big pot. Limp from Frank, 9-7 deuce, rainbow. Beth checks. Looks like Frank probably going to continue here. He does go for over half pot. Pretty big bet on that board texture, but Beth comes along. Deuce of clubs on the turn. Check. 10 of clubs on the river. So Beth hits something. I think, not a bad idea to rep. Yeah, you might want to go for value with the 7 there if you were Beth. You could probably get called by an ace high. Sometimes you might be able to rep a deuce and get, a 9 to fold, but I don't think Frank would ever fold a 9 there. But definitely something to think about betting on that river. 7, 6, 4, jack, 450 in the pot, deuce of diamonds. Look, they're checking this one down. Frank wins it with this pair of 6s. What a pair of matchups this has been so far. Ty and Fausto battling it all the way down. Fausto, Ty had pulled out to a tremendously huge lead. Had Fausto in fumes, and Fausto was able to climb back climbed back from 700 and chips up to like 2 something, and then was able to double up with ace 8 into ace king, pulling himself back in the match. Ty actually was able to himself climb back out of a hole, but then looks like Fausto just finished it off, beating Ty's ace high with the king high. Frank with a little bit of a chip lead now, a little bit over 2x. On the raise, gets the fold from Beth. Beth is a tough one to put down. She definitely ran me over in our previous heads-up match. King 6-9, rainbow. Beth bets half pot, gets the fold from Frank. These are two pro-level poker players going at it heads up. What a matchup to watch. Chat, what do we think so far? How are these matchups going? How do you like it? Who's your favorite to win? I don't know how to do a poll. Can I do a poll? Let's see. Can I do a poll? Start a poll. I can do a poll. Ask a question. Who's going to win? Can I add more? Oh, I can add options. There we go. Yeah. This works. We got Ty. We got Fausto. We got Frank. We got Beth. All right. Let us know. Who do we think is going to win this Heads Up Championship? Oh, I just said who's going to. I think everyone can just see. Looks like we got an insta vote on Beth. I don't know if that was Beth. Looks like we're going for the flip here with 3s against Jack 10. And looks like Beth got it. So we have the winners of our first round, Beth and Fausto. Looks like Team Jaka has taken the lead over Team Roundup, much to my chagrin because those are my boys. What happened? Frank and Ty, you gotta be representing the LA Poker Roundup. All right, so it looks like we're gonna wait for Frank to pull up 2 new tables. So I'm gonna take a quick break here. Let me see how I can do this. Is there a break? Hide this guy and show this guy. Oh, all right. So this should say, taking a break, but it does say starting soon. Should be able to see that in a second, hopefully. Oh, isn't that cool looking? Look at that. Look at that. I found that on Canva. I've actually been holding on to this for a very long time. I haven't been able to use it, but I will be back in a couple of minutes. Please don't go anywhere. We got another exciting round of action in our LA Poker Roundup Heads Up Championship. All right, I am back. Looks like that thing only, I don't know, maybe I need to figure out how to run it on repeat. Let's see. Properties, restart playback. Oh, loop. We need to hit loop. All right, I'm gonna put that back on again. Let's just see if this just loops forever. Frank says in the chat there was an ace queen, less than queen queen flip before that hand. So like Frank lost 2 flips to lose it to Beth. Unfortunate, but heads up, high variance game. It's tough. Definitely pulled my hair out a lot in my heads up matches. All right, looks like Fausto tie match 2 is okay. All right. Guess I can close this table, close this table, close this lobby. All right, looks like it's going to start in 8 minutes. Starts in 7 minutes. And so we got roughly 7 minutes. I'll be back in 7 minutes. Who won K Crit Crusher? So the first round looks like Beth and Fausto won the first round, but it is a best 2 out of 3. So we got another round of poker coming up in just 7 minutes. 6 minutes. 7 minutes. Be right back. All right, so it looks like we still got 4 minutes, but I am back to hang out with y'all. As you wait for the next round to start, looks like a little bit of shit talking happening in the side chat with the players. But incredible first round matchup. Lots of really, really good poker being played. And you can see, you know, some of these players in LA may not be super well known out there in the pokerverse, but we have very, very good players here in Los Angeles. And they're showing their chops here in this inaugural, I suppose. LA Poker Roundup Heads Up Championship. I am Derek Kwan, the host of 10-Minute Poker Tips, co-host of the sun-setting LA Poker Roundup, although we will be doing lots of fun stuff with this channel still. All right, we got about 2. Do I still have the other table open somewhere? I'm going to tell you, streaming software is the worst. Streaming software literally is so hard to figure out. Beth versus Frank, match 2. I see no players registered. We got 3 minutes left. I hope the both of you get in here in time. In the other one, we got... let me minimize. Let's start minimizing some windows so I don't lose all my windows here. Yep, Fausto tie match number 2. We got Fausto and Ty Dobbs already registered, ready to go, chomping at the bit to get back in the arena with each other. 2 minutes left. We are in the middle of the Commerce Hold'em series here in Los Angeles. Had a pretty rough weekend playing one days, although it goes a really funny story. I tweeted about this, but on the money bubble of the one day on Saturday, which was only a $400 buy-in, it was a 2x min cash because it was 10% cashed, as does Kevin's structures and payouts happen for one days. And I actually had like 2.5 to 3 big blinds. So it was on the button, on the money bubble. I thought I was going to be safe, but 4 all-ins, one over the next orbit. And now I was going to be on the next hand in the big blind. The blind had gone up and at 1.8 BBs. So with the big blind and big blind ante, I was basically all in on the next hand. And I was like, well, I'm out of here. Suddenly there was an all in the other table. I can't believe that somebody actually went all in with me about to, bust on my very next hand. And somebody actually went with Queen 8 in the big blind, apparently over like a raise with like 7 bigs. Buzzed it from the tournament, and I was able to just squeak there in the money. I buzzed it on that very next hand, by the way. I actually had ace 3 in the big blind, but under the gun raise there, ace queen bust me from the tournament. But you know what? I was happy with my $400 after that fiasco. Then had a pretty rough stay on Sunday. I actually went kind of deep. I didn't cash in the XL bounty tournament, but you know, poker tournaments are hard, man. 1 minute to start. Looks like we got players registered in their lobbies. So once the tables are up, I'm going to switch the screens over to there so you can see the action. I will do my best to speed cover. We have 4 players who act very, very fast, which is fantastic if you are playing against them, but hard to commentate. But it's all right. So, we already got some reads on these players and some of their tendencies. All right, so it looks like running. So let's pull this one up here. And then we're going to do window capture. We're going to get Fausto and Ty match up here. It looks like the Beth and Frank match is going to take another minute to start. Ty is already continuing with a pretty big bet on Queen 8-8. Fausto with the raise takes it down. Fausto with first blood, I think. Queen 9, 188 in the pot. Let's move this guy over here so we can see it a little bit better. Looks like the other match has started. So let's also switch the other window capture to Beth and Frank, match number 2. All right, we are good to go. 188 a pot, 975. Check to a king of spades on the turn. 3 flush comes in. Frank takes first blood in the second matchup. King of diamonds on the river. Fausto with the stab. 1/3 pot. Ty goes for the raise. Ty smells weakness. He's going to give you a raise there. Looks like he made a good raise there with second pair of 9s. Getting some value from Fausto, who probably had like a 7 or a 5 maybe. Fausto on the button. Limped in. Ty went 4x, takes it down. Frank with the raise. Beth with the call. Queen of diamonds, 5 diamonds, deuce of spades. 146 in the pot. Looks like we got a 3-bet from Valdez and a call from Ty. 849 on the flop, rainbow. Queen of spades on the turn for Frank and Beth. 292 in the pot. Check, check. 9 of clubs on the river. Fausto goes for half pot. Ty goes to the raise. These guys are hyper aggressive on this table. Fausto has a decision. Lots of bluffing between these two, obviously, and we get a call from Fausto. Interesting pot already. We're playing a huge pot. 29-12 in the pot, so we're looking at just a little bit over a 1-to-1 SPR for both players. King of spades on the river after deuce of spades on the turn. So Ty was repping a really big hand on that flop. Let's see what he comes with. Looks like that was a check fold. I looked away for a second, but saw the fold, so that must have been a check fold. And Fausto must have gone for the bet. Looks like Ty went with air and just shut it down after Fausto repped having something. And looks like Fausto pulls out to a big lead already over Ty. Frank, Beth. Beth with the limp on the button. Will Frank come with this patented 5, 6x, no raise? Nope, just checks it. Ace of diamonds, 7 of clubs, king of clubs. Definitely a type of board texture that Beth should be stabbing at, and she does. Half pot. Fausto. Ty with half pot bet. 10, 4, 5, 2 hearts. 6 of clubs on the turn. Fausto with a check. Check, check. Ace of spades. 8 of spades on the river. Yeah, Fausto does. That is definitely the type of board run out that you want to lead on the river. Definitely favors you. And he had 10-4. Fausto, very, very theoretically sound player. When I can somewhat predict what you're about to do on specific board textures without seeing your hands, it means that you are a very, and Fausto I think is a far better theoretical player than I am. Frank takes it down with top pair of jacks, king kicker, pulling out to a small lead over Beth. Ty takes an important pot down to pull a little bit back over 3,200 in chips. 324 in the pot, 6, deuce, queen, 2 spades. Frank takes it down. 8, 9, 8 jack, very wet board with 2 hearts, straight draws, pair on the board. King of hearts on the river, even more wetness. Probably going to go check, check, and it looks like Ty was able to river the king and just took showdown value, which is pretty smart on a board like that. Beth pulling away a little bit from Frank here. Oh, sorry, Frank pulling a little bit away from Beth here. Interestingly, they flipped. I don't know if that was by design or just by accident, but looks like they flipped positions, at least from what I'm looking at. Fausto, half pot bet, ace, queen, 3-3. 312 in the pot. I think this is a check for Fausto here with the 3 diamonds on the turn. See what he comes with. He does go for the check. 4 spades on the river. Ty, interestingly, goes for an overbet here, so repping a 3. Fausto definitely checking back some value, but does go for the fold. So maybe he was checking back air and made a good read that maybe Ty had something strong. 3x raise from Ty on the button. Call from Fausto. 995 for Beth and Frank, and Beth takes it down with the, Frank takes it down with a C bet. I'm going to get used to their positions with Frank on the bottom instead of on top. Trip me up here. Fausto, limp on the button. Ty with the check. Deuce, ace 7. 3 club board, 6, 10 to 5. Frank bets, Beth calls. Beth bets, Frank calls. Queen of spades, ace of spades on the river. After a check on the queen of spades turn. Check from Frank. It looks like what's Beth going to come with? She comes with 60, 70% pot. Takes it down. Fausto with the nut. So it looks like Fausto is going with the limp strategy here on the button. Maybe to counter some of Ty's aggression, keep pots a little bit smaller. Half pot bet takes it down. King, deuce, 5. Half pot bet from Frank on 4-10 dime, 8 of diamonds. Gets called by Beth. Jack of diamonds on the river. Interesting card. So now we got a 4 flush on here. Straight flush potentially. Queen of hearts on the river. Probably going to go check if there are no diamonds involved. Oh, it looks like Beth does go for the bet. Repping a diamond. Let's see what Frank does. And Frank goes for the fold. And Beth pulls a little bit closer. Ty hanging in there. Back up over 3,500 in chips. 3x raise on the button. Fausto comes with the call. 4 clubs, jack of hearts, 10 of spades. Check. Ace of spades on the turn. Interesting card. I expect a check from Fausto, a bet from Ty, and then we don't know what Fausto's going to do here. Probably fold. That was a pretty big bet too from Ty. Queen of spades, ace of hearts, jack of spades, 5 diamonds on the turn, 292 in the pot. Between Frank and Beth. Frank goes for a pretty big bet, and he gets a call from Beth to jack of clubs on the river, check from Beth. Let's see if Frank's going to go for it again or not. He does decide to give up. Oh, he had the ace. Interesting that Frank didn't go for value there, but probably wasn't getting a call. Well, maybe he was getting a call from Beth, but the queen, that second pair is pretty strong there. But jack is definitely something that's looming. Ace, king, queen. Beth takes it down, having button and range advantage. Ty takes a small one down on the other table, hovering around 3,500 chips, hanging in there. Fausto with another limp on the button. Looks like Fausto is going with the limp strategy this round. 4 diamonds, jack of spades, 10 of spades, checks through to the 7 of clubs between Beth and Frank, checks through to the queen of hearts on the river, check, and ace high takes it down. Ace, oh, and actually no, it was a pair of sevens. Pair of sevens takes it down, but ace high is often good, obviously in heads up matches where it's hard to make a hand, hard to make pairs. 3x raise from Ty. Fausto in the tank. Goes 4 to 3 bet. I think this is the first 3 bet I've seen on this table so far, and Ty just snap calls that. 9 of clubs, jack of diamonds, 4 diamonds, jack of spades. Ty can be very wide here. 728 in the pot. Fausto comes for half pot bet. Again, theoretically sound play there on that board texture. Ty with the call. 3 of spades on the river. Interesting pot building here. Looks like Beth won a nice pot there. Check. Makes sense, I think, on a board like this. Fausto might be, I don't know, could be going for some amount of pot controlling with the value heavy hand, and he does have, oh, he rivered the 8. Feels like he needed that river to win, but who knows. Frank with a little bit of a lead over Beth now. Raise the button, gets a call. Ace, queen, ace. Very button range advantaged board. Half pot bet, and Beth gives it up. Ty, 3x raise on the button. Fausto with the call. Ace, 3-5. Wheel opportunities abound. 2 heart on the board, flush draw. Ty goes 60% pot. So it's interesting, obviously you continue with a lot of aces with position and betting advantage or betting lead. But, these lower cards that can have some wheels in it tend to be a little bit more careful treading. Always interesting in theory. So it looks like Ty goes for about 30% pot here. Fausto goes for the raise on ace 3-5-3. Man, Fausto is tough to play. Ty makes the call, 6 clubs. Interesting to see what's going to get showdown here. It looks like Beth betting, over betting pot here on 7-4-8 jack 10. Ty, Frank in the tank. And, oh, looks like Fausto won the match by rivering a straight after raising with the flush draw. Ty made probably a correct call with the ace jack there. That was just an unfortunate cooler. It looks like Fausto has taken down the round. Good game to Ty, well played, but Fausto definitely with the Fausto with the big ship it in the chat. But that definitely, I think the cards definitely favored Fausto there on the second half of the first match, and definitely a bit on the second match. But congratulations to Fausto. Good game to tie. Very, very well fought match there. So we are down to just Beth and Frank. Lucky 777 on the flop. Check, check. Ace of diamonds. I think, 3 sevens. It's okay just to stab a little bit in position with if you had the betting lead as well. But then Beth does go for the half pot on turn with ace hits, and Frank just gives it up. Frank slowly building a lead here, but Beth hanging in there just like what happened in the first match. So who will Fausto be facing for the Heads Up Championship? Is it going to be Beth? Is it going to be Frank? Looking at the poll, it looks like most of you had Ty winning this along with Beth, but that doesn't look like that's going to pan out. Nobody's voting for Frank. What's up, guys? Come on. God, this guy just finished number 2 in the POI. By the way, Frank was one of my toughest heads-up matchups I've had live and even online. We played a very, very long heads-up match when the Commerce had a heads-up match during the LAPC, I believe. It was like maybe 3 years ago. And man, and I don't know why DJ at the time did this, but he did like no blind escalation. So it was just like flat blind all the way through. So, I mean, the theoretically correct way for me to play was not to play with any sort of urgency because the blinds weren't going to go up. So I ended up dragging on the matches. And then me and Frank played extremely, extremely long matches, but I was able to beat Frank. Had a couple of lucky hands go my way, but Frank is a very, very tough heads-up player. So give Frank a couple of votes, man. Thank you, everyone, for watching. It's been a fun night so far with the LAPR Heads Up Championship. We had Fausto taking down Ty to move on to the finals. And we got Frank and Beth battling here in their second round in best out of 3, with Beth taking down the first one. 424 in the pot. Looks like a half pot bet from Beth, called by Frank on 10, 4, 6, 7. No flushes on the board. And looks like it goes check, check. And Frank had 10-4 with 2 pair. So good check from Beth if she actually had, top pairish type of hand. Felt like Beth actually had something there. So that was a good check back, not value owning herself in the 2 pair. And good check from Frank. I think a lead. Well, maybe the lead might have got called. Who knows? But it's very fishy to lead reverse out of position. Very hard to win pots out of position, which is why position is so important to limit hold'em. So while this is going on, we got one last tidbit about Frank. In mixed games in 2018, the bike ran for the first time and last time a $350 quantum horse tournament, which had 100K guaranteed. Wow, that's crazy. I wonder how a quantum horse tournament will work. He made it to day 2 with less than a starting stack. I told a friend that he would have 10% of my action on day 2 if I busted in time and bought in day 2 directly during the re-entry period. Frank takes another one down. Ended up, I didn't bust in time to rebuy or at all to take down the biggest horse event ever in LA, $100,000, which the bike awarded a trophy of an anatomically correct lion. So Frank, that should be your profile picture with the anatomically correctness shown in your, picture. But that's crazy 100K horse tournament, and Frank was the one that took it down in LA. I don't think we're ever going to see something that big for a mixed game event. Maybe ever again. I don't know. We would love to see mixed games emerge. Frank says, yeah, that is actually how we met at the LAPC Heads Up. I think I've just kind of seen Frank around, but yeah, we never really talked until that Heads Up match. So yeah, that is how we met. A rub match, you got it in with a flush draw on the turn. I had trip 8s and an ace kicker. Yeah, I remember that. I think I played that like super aggressively too, and I was able to suck out on Frank. But yeah, Frank was a very, very tough heads up player. And still is, obviously, as you can see. Half pot bet called by Beth. 5, deuce, king, jack. With 2 spades. Feel like somebody's got a flush draw here. Who's got the flush draw? Frank checks back. I suspect, yeah, Beth should bet here, based on what the action looks like. And Frank might have a bluff catcher, but obviously does not. And Beth takes another one down. This match may go for a while. These two are very, very good at Heads up play. Fighters. Deuce, 10, 8, 9. Straights abound. Flush draws abound. 112 in the pot. Check. Beth goes for pot size bet. Gets the fold. You know, and theoretical GTO poker isn't the only way you can play poker. There are obviously many, many other ways. So a lot of times when you see players taking more exploitative and non-theoretically correct bet sizing, you know, some of it can just be due to reads and what they perceive their opponent's hand strength is, or maybe what they think an opponent's going to fold to. And literally a lot of my bet sizing live tends to be more exploitative than not against the population. And, you know, obviously if I'm in pots with the Faustos and the Sohails and the Sammys of the world, I am a little bit more cautious about maybe going a little bit more GTO. But in general, I play a little bit more of an exploitative style, even though I have that GTO baseline in my head. 10, 7, 7 deuce. Beth takes that one down, and Beth pulls back over 4K. Not going down without a fight. Raise from Frank on the button. Fold from Beth. If you haven't played a lot of Heads Up, you know, you should go seek it out. Heads Up is pretty fun to play. And I think that Heads Up is a big reason why I got good at poker. And I got good at poker pretty fast from Heads Up. I was, you know, I think back when I started playing, there was no GTO. The only studying methods that I really had was going on 2+2 forums, getting roasted for the bad hands that I played right, talking to some of my other cash game friends. I was more of a cash game player back in the day. But Heads Up really accelerated my education in poker. And I think you hear that a lot from Heads Up players. A lot of Heads Up players are just good poker players in general because you just have to play so many hands, figure out so many spots. You just start to almost instinctively understand runouts because you're playing so many hands all the time. And yeah, a lot of Heads Up players become excellent just poker players in general. So Heads Up helped me out a lot. Now I think coming up is a little bit easier because there's a lot more information out there that feels more objective. Like even some of the advice that I was getting in forums, sometimes I sort of questioned. I was like, is this really right? I feel like people are just kind of making stuff up because there was really no like objective baseline. But now we do have an objective baseline. So I think learning poker and learning Heads Up now might be a little bit easier. But if you're able to go play poker on some sites that have Heads Up, highly recommend it. Definitely a lot of fun and good learning method. Frank and Beth, 4, 10, 4. Beth takes it down with the C-bet. And back and forth we go. Frank with the raise on the button. Takes it down. I think that Frank and Beth are both going to play very patient poker. I think Fausto and Ty amped up the aggression quite a bit in their matchup. Neither player wanting to blink, and Fausto just ended up taking down at the end. But what a matchup that was. Fun to watch. Fausto said these two waiting for queen, queen, and ace, king again. Yeah, you know, they are taking a little bit more of a stabby, pot control-y type of match. Their match obviously dragged on longer than Fausto and Ty's first one, and Fausto and Ty insta wrapped up their match in, I don't know how long that was, felt like 10 minutes or so. Yeah, and that's what heads up matches are. Sometimes, you know, some of my heads up matches would be like 2 minutes, and then sometimes I would drag on for 25 to 30 minutes. It was crazy. And then we would both be down to, you know, fumes, like 8 big blinds effective. And looks like Beth wins with 2 pair over Frank's king high and takes the chip lead back. So Beth did go with the 2.5x raise on the button. Gets a call from Frank, 8869. 7 of diamonds on the river. So now we got 3 diamonds and a 4-liner to a straight. Frank goes for a half pot bet, and this is going to be a tough call from Beth on such a run out. Oh, and Beth goes for the raise. Sick. We'll see what Frank is going to do here, because there is a paired board and there is a flush. So now it makes it a little bit hard to call with just, you know, obviously with the 5, I think this is probably a fold unless you got a soul read. Definitely a little bit of a harder call with a 10. but Beth is obviously capable of doing a lot of stuff. So Frank does give it up though. If I had to bet, I think that Beth had it there. Also notice Beth's raise sizing, sometimes min raising, sometimes 1.5xing. Not sure if I've seen enough showdowns to know what that means, but you know, interesting to note. Beth calls half pot bet from Frank on 3, Jack 10. King of spades on the turn with 2 flush on the board. Frank goes for a big B80. Gets the fold from Beth on turn. Beth is pulled out to a small chip lead. We are at 35-70 blinds. 799. Check to Frank. 340 in the pot. Frank bets half pot. Gets a call from Beth. King of spades on the turn, bringing a backdoor flush draw with the spades. Now we got some potential straight opportunities, double gutters and such. Frank goes for B80, gets the call. 9 of clubs on the river, putting trips on the board. Interesting card. Beth looks like she's thinking about stabbing here with the way and she goes big. 1.5x pot. This is a blender type of situation. Frank has a 7 or maybe something like pocket 8s. Oh, and he goes for the raise. Not much of a raise. And he had quads against the king. What a cooler spot for Beth. You know, I think Frank could have gone for all of it there and would have got it. He would have got it. But Beth's still alive, but on fumes. Not on fumes. You know, still got 2K in chips. We are at, looks like Beth going for a big 3-bet there. So 2K. We're still at 35-70 blinds, so 30 BBs is still plenty. Beth going for a min raise. So yeah, we'll see, you know, a little bit 2xing, a little bit 2.5xing, not sure what it all means. But Beth definitely mixing it up a little bit pre. Frank with the raise, low 2.5. I think Frank's been pretty consistent with his bet sizing, 2.5xing. Actually, no, I've seen him go a little bit over 3x. So yeah, both of these guys are mixing up their bet sizings pre. Frank found a win to win min with a way to win min. Yeah, he did win the min with quads. But I think, you know, it's hard to tell that Beth actually had something strong there. I think I probably would have gone for the ship, but tough to know in the spot. I'm not in the arena. Oh, did Frank went all in? Yeah, because you didn't have that many chips. I see. Okay. Yeah, we missed that. I missed that. I thought you had chips left. I don't know. Maybe I just misread what I was looking at. Beth, you know, as she does, climbing back a little bit in it here. I'm interested to, can I look at the hand histories? Let's see. I haven't been on Poker Stars in a real long time, so I don't know how anything works. Yeah, anyways. Oh, here, hands? Oh, I guess maybe I can't see the previous hands as I'm not actually playing, I'm just observing. All right. Frank with the raise. Looks like he's picking 161 this level for his raise size. Beth folds the button. Yeah, again, you know, you don't got to play every freaking button in heads up. I think some people up around like 90-95% VPIP on the button. I don't super believe in that. And also definitely you got to dial back a little bit if you have a 3-bet trigger happy type of opponent. But you know, you can be patient in heads up. It's also why I didn't like heads up turbos too much. Turbos I felt like took away too much of the art of heads up, some of the talent and skill advantage. I like slow, methodical heads up where you can drag people into the mire, pull them down, suffocate them. Heads up is so much fun, man. All right. Frank, you know, maintaining his lead after that big quads hand, but Beth is holding her own and not giving up her chips. She's hovering around that 2K mark, hanging in there. min raise on the button, so Beth going for the min raise, Frank with the call. King, ace 5 definitely favors Beth. Bet and fold. Super duper standard. 161 on the button from Frank again. Call from Beth. Queen, 5, Jack. Check. These, Broadway cards, obviously button should be continuing quite a bit, but they tend to also, kind of hit the small blinds, straight draws and stuff, and obviously they can still be pairing bottom pair. Queen and Jacks, a little bit less scary than the aces and the kings in terms of pairing your opponent. 5, 4, Jack. 158 in the pot. Beth goes for half pot. Frank with the call. Jack of diamonds on the turn. 316 in the pot. Beth goes for half pot again. Repping something. Frank comes along. 4 diamonds on the river. Bringing two pairs and diamonds. And Frank just wins it with a pair of 5s. So it looks like Beth was barreling it off there with something. Nothing. So we can't be saying these players are knitting it up. They are at it, going at it. 35, 70 blinds. So now Beth goes for 3x. Yeah, you can see, she's kind of mixing it up pre. Don't know what the bet sizing means. We haven't seen the showdowns. But unfortunately for her, that was a big hand. Frank just had the old 7 deuce. What a matchup. What a night this has been. Beth limps on the button. Frank going for the big raise, as he does. 5x. More than 5x. And, that's definitely a lot tougher to be calling when you are this short, although Frank is basically almost committing her with that size of a bet, that size of a raise. No, maybe not committing her, but definitely a lot of her stack. She had a 5 little kicker. Oh, you're able to see the cards? Interesting. So we got Frank in the chat, playing and chatting at the same time. Queen, 8, 9 on the board. Very wet board with 2 spades. Beth goes for half size pot bet and takes it down. I've been talking a lot about poker growth, spectators. Definitely need more interesting shows like Game of Gold. Take some learnings from some other sport documentaries. I know that Dustin Ionetta is working on something that's going to be similar to, Race to Something, that's kind of got a lot of people interested in racing. So excited to see what he's coming with there. Obviously a high production value type of guy, but we need that type of content. And it's just stuff like this. I think this is fun, just to get some people together, watch some players playing mano heads up, or there's women in here too, bets, and not just men, but players battling each other in heads up, the purest form of poker there is, in my opinion. Beth looks like she takes one with a big 3 bet there. Squeaking back up closer to 2K again. Yeah, if you're in the game, you can see the hand history. So I cannot see the hand histories, unfortunately. But that's okay. We're still having a good time commentating on this. Beth going for another big 3 bet, taking it down. It's so interesting, when a player starts showing a bunch of aggression, sometimes you can't really tell if they're just sort of steaming or, they're getting good hands. But I think in this day and age, a lot less players kind of take the steam route. And most of the time they actually have something. But, with the right type of player, you can catch them doing some steamy, punty stuff. I don't think that's what Beth is doing here. Frank leading. King, Queen, 6 hearts. And he is out kicked by Beth, and this is going to be a big pot going Beth's way. And looks like she is pulling back. Almost back to even. 4K versus Frank's 6K. 6 deuce deuce, 2 clubs. Man, these two are just battling it out. Half pot bet from Frank, called from Beth, and we have a 3 of clubs. Very wet board now. Flush comes in, straights come in, All this stuff already appearing on the board. Frank says, I don't give a fuck. Goes for a B80. Gets the call from Beth. This is a big pot here. 10 of diamonds. What's going to happen here? Beth is a little bit over. And 1-1 SPR. Frank goes for all of it with the rip. And Beth has a tough decision here. Oh, and she has the flush. Oh, and flushed over flush Frank. Unbelievable. Wow, what a turn of events. That was nasty. So Frank with 2 coolers. Outkick top pair last hand. Losing a big pot. Now flush over flush. You cannot get away from flush over flush in a heads-up match. And looks like this could end right here. So Beth betting half pot. King, queen, 5, queen, 3 hearts, but Frank stabs the turn, takes it back down. Frank out of the danger zone, back up to 2,500 chips. What a matchup so far. MFL with Cosmo says, what's the buy-in and prizes? What was the buy-in, Frank? Was it 50 bucks? I don't remember. This is like a friendly kind of home game. So I don't even know what the total prize pool was, but something like 50, 100 bucks. I don't remember. King, 6, 5, 10, 3 of hearts on the river, brings in the flush. Also the straight. And looks like check, check. King, 5, 2 pair from Beth. Did not go for value. Fausto, you still coaching Beth? Gotta bet there. Gotta bet that river. Beth, now 3xing again, so she really is mixing up her bet sizings pre. Not sure if I agree with 3xing a shorter stack, but you know, there's not exactly always a correct way to play poker. Yeah, okay, sorry, it's play chess. We're not playing for real money. That was my mistake. I think that we, thinking about some other tournament, but this is just play money chips. Fausto, Lord of the Gremlins. Yeah, I had made a joke that he was spawning vampires. I think maybe Gremlins might be the better analogy. 994 Rainbow. Half pot bet from Beth. Frank in the tank. Huh. Has anybody ever made that joke before? Frank in the tank? Frank just goes for the rip here. Repping a 9, repping a 4. And another cooler situation. Looks like Beth takes Frank down with pair over pair, and looks like we have our finals matchup. It is going to be Team Jaka between coach and student. Fausto and Beth. Can Luke Skywalker take down Darth Vader? Oh no, not Darth Vader, Yoda? I don't know who, you get what I'm saying. But unfortunately, it looks like the Roundup boys fell to Team Jaka, but what a fight from Frank, what a fight from Ty. Sometimes the cards just don't go your way in heads up. And it is what it is. It is what it is. It's tough. It's tough. Heads up is sort of a tough thing to win. GG's to Frank. So what are we thinking, guys? Are we going to go for the final round, or are we going to wrap it up here? So it looks like Fausto's up and still awake. I know he's got, newly minted, not super newly minted dad, but relatively newly minted dad. And I know that dads have a little bit of an earlier bedtime. So we'll see. Let's let them make the call. I know we have a side chat over there to decide whether or not we're going to go for the final round tonight, or we're going to do this another night. Let's see here. But, while they're deciding on what to do, what a incredible evening this has been. Super fun matchups, hyper aggression shown from Fausto and Ty. I would have loved to have been able to actually see the whole cards and do this on a bit of a delay, just to see what these sickles were doing. Frank and Beth were taking a little bit more of a kind of fencing, strategic, chess match, playing against each other. Definitely see chips flying around, but they were able to come back, never giving up the fight. Incredible comeback, incredible resilience from both players. And, you know, Frank just couldn't take those last couple of clues at the end there. I mean, that was pretty brutal. We had top pair outkicked, flush over flush, and then pair over pair. You're not going to be able to get away from that, especially when we're talking about, you know, 40, 50 BBs effective. 3 of those hands happen over like 5 hands. So, yeah, it's going to be curtains for you if that happens. Oh, I was wondering why Ty was saying that he wasn't going to play again tonight, but I forgot that you were doing a consolation round or the loser's bracket. So I suppose, yeah, maybe I won't stream the loser's bracket. It wouldn't be, yeah, if you guys want me to stream the loser's bracket, I'd be happy to do it. Well, we'll see if Beth and Fausto are going to go and continue on. But yeah, so, you know, everyone who's been watching, thank you for watching. Thank you for being a fan of the Roundup. You know, maybe I'm not going to ask you to subscribe to the Roundup because we are going to be sunsetting the podcast, but definitely be following our Instagram account. Lots of good stuff there. Frank constantly posting pictures and results. We'll still be doing, you know, some content here and there, so definitely look out for things. I do think that we have a good opportunity to continue to promote our LA poker players. I'm going to try to do a little bit of promotion today, giving some nicknames. So every time you see Beth, make sure you're calling her the star. Every time you're seeing Fausto, call him the coach. Ty is the voice, and Frank, as you already know, is the #1 field reporter. But we need more personalities in poker in general, and I think LA Poker could use a bit of a shine to get some of our players a little bit more visibility. And then, you know, maybe we can drop a documentary sooner or later. We got some, you know, obviously really talented Hollywood poker players or poker players who are in the entertainment industry. So who knows? You know, maybe we can have our own LA Poker documentary. But we have to build some personalities first. So let's start here. So maybe we can use our Instagram account for some of that as well. Also, if you're not subscribed to my channel, 10-minute poker tips, please go over to YouTube and give it a sub, watch some videos, give it some likes, drop some comments. Fantastic content on there. We've had Fausto there already. Ty actually had a very, very good 10-minute poker tip episode on how to basically build a big day 1 chip stack, which he's very, very good at doing. Frank still owes me a Sadi 10-minute poker tip because he's an incredible Sadi player. Jeremy was already on. Jeremy Himmy was already on. So I had a lot of really good guests, you know, including Christina Collins. I actually had Joey Ingram on. So many good guests talking about poker strategy, talking about poker industry, just life tips. So give it a whirl. Give it a check out. If you like it, please subscribe. Gonna have a lot more good content coming up. Slowed down a little bit after the World Series, but definitely going to start picking it up again. I think we're going to have Keywin, also known as Pseudo Superman, doing a PLO 102. We already did a fantastic episode on PLO 101 if you want to learn how to play PLO. So yeah, we're going to have a lot more guests on. Definitely go check out that channel. It looks like they're still deciding whether or not they want to continue. But thank you, everyone, for still sticking around while we wait. Let's see what's happening on this poll here. So it looks like Fausto's pulling ahead. Ty is still beating Beth in the poll, even though he's out. So Beth was definitely a dark horse here. And surprisingly, I think Frank, who again, #2 POI, and one of my toughest heads-up players, but maybe people didn't know that about him. Frank obviously just showed tonight he is a very, very good heads-up player. Didn't get any votes in the poll. What's up, guys? But it looks like it is going to be Fausto and Beth going for the win. So I think Frank also got a nice little trophy for this. Or was it a trophy or a ring? I don't remember. But there is going to be some sort of, Horcrux going to the winner. All right, so it looks like Beth and Fausto are going to go tonight, so we're going to have one more matchup. You guys saying 10:30? That's 15 minutes from now. Just let's go. Let's go. Let's go right now. All right, so it looks like we're locked in for 10:30 p.m. Maybe we can do 10:25, Frank, if it's 10 minutes. I think Frank said there's a 10-minute wait to start up a new table. So I myself am going to take a break. I'm going to put back on that very pleasant. Yeah, you like this? This is cool. It's a, you know, some sort of moving panoramic of a city with the moon. It says live stream coming soon. You see the little LA Poker Roundup. I made this myself in Canva, so if anybody needs some design stuff, Canva is a fantastic app to do stuff like this in. Got lots of really cool stuff. All right, we will be back at 10:30. Actually, I'll be back a little bit earlier at 10:30, and I can just come in here and keep you guys company while we wait for the players to show up. But I'll be back in a few minutes. All right, I am back. We have 3 minutes. No, actually, we have 8 minutes to go until the players are back. But let's hang out. Let's have a good time. It is a Monday night, 10:22 p.m. Pacific. Thank you, everyone, for watching and hanging out with us as we are playing the LA Poker Roundup Heads Up Championship. And looks like we will be playing down to a winner between Fausto, the coach Valdez, and Beth, the star Hall. Beth, Hollywood star, with credits for Mom, Mad Men, Curb Your Enthusiasm, and much, much more, has now forged the path in poker, being a poker tournament crusher. Only woman to finish in the top 10 in POY last year. Definitely see her going deep in a lot of tournaments, able to gather a whole ton of chips. Fantastic player. Fausto himself, also a tournament crusher here in LA, has his own coaching site, Blueprint Coaching, came from the Jaka coaching stable, I believe. Beth was also, I believe, a Fausto student and also still a student of Jaka coaching. So you can see Jaka is churning out some very, very good players and coaches from his service. Like Jeff in the chat, rooting for Beth. Let's go, Beth. Thank you, Frank. That is a pretty cool screensaver, isn't it? We have, lots of stuff happening over here in the poker community in general. I think that we are going to see more poker content coming. NBC Heads Up Championship. So following this, if you are getting an appetite for Heads Up, there is going to be the NBC Heads Up Championship from Poker Go and NBC as a collaboration. I believe they targeted somewhere in October for release. It's going to be on Peacock first. So if you don't have Peacock, I guess you're shit out of luck. But they will be showing it on not only Poker Go if you have a subscription, but also on the Poker Stars YouTube channel for free, I believe. So that will be, shortly after that broadcast. So that'll be fun. Good to see the NBC Heads Up Championship back from the dead after a decade of dormancy. Those are always a lot of fun to watch, but we're hoping a lot more poker content comes because poker definitely needs it. And as I've talked about many times before, spectators are so important to our game. It's not always about just growing players, but just getting those spectators in here are how we get sponsorships and how we get more advertisers. Maybe we start getting tournaments that aren't funded directly from players, which would be also fantastic. So these are the type of things that we need to do to grow the game. So I think we're going to be seeing a lot more content coming, hopefully soon. As I mentioned before the break, Dustin Iannotti, who is a producer, has his own production company, does a bunch of stuff for Mr. Keating, high stakes cash game player. I'm pretty sure you're all familiar with him. Looks like he had been working on some sort of documentary with some of the top pros that's in the style of Drive to Survive. Which was so successful in getting more people paying attention to racing. So hopefully this is going to be our moment. We needed a Queen's Gambit type of piece of content. So this isn't exactly a fictional type of thing, but maybe this is our analogy to a Queen's Gambit. Bring more spectators to the game. Get on Netflix or something really, really big. And, poker's been churning along. I think that, no limit hold'em tournaments, people have been talking about the death of No Limit Hold'em for a really long time with the emergence of solvers and how tough the game is getting. But you know what? World Series of Poker in the summer in Vegas is a really good barometer for how things are going, and things are still growing, right? Yeah, I think maybe some of their uniques aren't growing as fast as maybe they should be. Looks like, with the emergence of the app, which makes it so much easier to register and re-register. And also just adding a bunch of extra starting days to some of those big tournaments like the Monster Stack and the Millie Maker. Definitely contributing to some of the re-entries, which also juices the prize pool. But still good to see that, poker is growing and it looks like we're still going strong. But, we can't just be hanging on to this stuff forever and not doing anything. So hopefully we'll have some content creators and some broadcasters and some big shows coming to attract more people to poker. Super excited about all of that. Also had some discussions. Looks like there's still some trailing discussions about reactions and emotions in poker. So I think this kind of started off with Seth Davies, who decided to start his own YouTube channel, talking about the reason why high stakes players don't react emotionally is like this blend of, just general stoicism, but basically, you don't try not to get too high, try not to get too low. So you end up just not like overreacting to good spots and bad spots. And then Daniel Negreanu chimed in, and I agree with him that, we need more just emotion in poker, right? Daniel throwing his selfie stick when he gets a bad beat. I think we need more of that. As long as he's not being abusive to other players, celebrate. But then Sam Greenwood chimed in with a very, very good post about why, he mostly kind of echoed what Seth was saying, but mostly why a lot of high stakes players kind of don't react too much. It also helps, with your emotional control, and it just feels like sometimes, Sam Greenwood, by the way, fantastic writer, really great thoughts coming from him on a broad range of topics. So if you aren't already kind of following his Substack called Pun of the Day, definitely check it out. He wrote a fantastic post about content, actually, which I learned a lot from. It linked me to a bunch of really interesting articles about data in the film industry, which I also learned a lot from, and sort of changed my perspective on some of the things I was thinking about. But Sam also had some really good points about emotion. Kind of just feels like sometimes for him, and I actually kind of agree with him, tournament poker is really stressful. You are having fun playing poker and you're doing something that you enjoy, but you're really focused on making the right decision. Any bad step and you can just lose your stack, you're out of the tournament. And sometimes when these tournaments are so top heavy, these mistakes have extreme monetary impact. When you make a mistake, when you do something wrong, or even when you get a bad beat that's out of your control. So because of that, he feels like in order to be able to weather all of that, just like not being overly crazy emotional is sort of the way to go. So that's just kind of a way that he thinks those things are. So definitely interesting topic to noodle on and discuss. As we play our great game of poker. Looks like we got 1 minute left, so let me go find the match number 3 in the lobby. Let's see here. Let's go back to results, club lobby. Here it is, Beth and Fausto, match number 1. Hasn't started yet. So what we're going to do here is, I guess what I can do is move some stuff around. So I can probably turn off one of these window captures. I can move myself over to here, and then I can make the other window capture a bit bigger so we can see, since we are only doing one table now. I can make myself a little bit bigger too, so you can see me. You got my cat here, who was doing really good, not bothering me for this whole entire stream. I wonder what she was doing. What, are you sleeping downstairs? Are you sleeping downstairs? Oh, starts in 7 minutes. What is up, Frank? Why is it starting so... I thought we were going to start at 10:30. All right, so it looks like we got another 7 minutes. But... yeah, we can keep company for 7 more minutes. So yeah, I have a lot of thoughts about poker growth and how these things are so important for our industry. And I think we need to do a lot more. We have some very talented people, but maybe we're just looking at things the wrong way, generating so much content that seems targeted to players because we keep trying to grow the player pool. But we need more than just a player pool, right? There's like a pretty, there's a finite amount of everyone, but smaller number of players than there are spectators, and spectators are the ones that will bring poker back into the mainstream so people will watch. So in other news in poker, we are here in LA wrapping up we just wrapped up the Legends of Poker successful series. We had a couple of new winners with new banners on the wall, so it's good to see, not all the regs taking everything down. In the quantum events, the mini mega and the mega had 2 players that I think generally people are not too familiar with, which is great for the game. Glad to see these players making it through. Both seem like super nice guys as well. Frank says it got canceled because they didn't reg in time, so it's delayed till a new one starts, 10:37 p.m. Come on, people. Let's get with it. I know it is 10:30. It is late on a Monday night. Okay, so we got 7 more minutes, but that's okay. But now we are rolling into the Commerce Hold'em series, another fantastic series down here in LA. So for the people who do live in LA, it's nice to have a series running like basically every month. They rotate between our two big card rooms, the Bike and the Commerce. So Commerce Hold'em series is going to have a nice main event at the end of this, and then we're going to roll right into the big Poker October for the Bike. They're going to have a couple of other big quantum events, probably another good 1K classic event. And then that's going to roll into the next World Series of Poker circuit in November at the Commerce. That will be our last series or big series of the year in LA, I think, unless somebody decides to do something over the holidays. Before then, we roll into WPT in December in Wynn, which is everyone's at this point probably favorite, if not second favorite, series of the year behind the World Series of Poker. In the summer, although people love the Win, love what WPT does. It's also a fantastic experience, probably one of the most pleasant experiences that we have. So we got time for Derek AMA. Yeah, so you guys want to ask me anything, go ahead and ask me anything in the chat. For the people who are still sticking around for this, we have our matchup coming up in another 5 minutes or so. So that's going to be a good one, 4 minutes now. But interestingly, I think in Vegas they just had some sort of bounty series over in, I forgot which casino, but it was tied to the Poker Go. I think Jeremy Becker just absolutely ran everything over. I think he won the first event and ended up final tabling like 5 or 6 times, collecting a ton of money, collecting a ton of bounties, and collecting a bunch of player of the year points, PGD points. So congrats to Jeremy Becker. Obviously another crusher, another guy who claims to be, not super GTO focused, although I think maybe he's probably caught up on a little bit of that over time, but still very much a street poker type of exploitative player, which we love to see. Mike Mizrahi was another one of those who just had a fantastic run in the World Series. Super fun to watch these players kind of going at it like that. And then, myself, I try to do my best to study, but sometimes it's a bit hard for me schedule-wise, and I get pretty tired. But I still try to grind away a little bit. Not only at Sims, but then just some of those drills. I think drills are a fantastic way to learn some GTO concepts. I still, get a whole bunch of stuff wrong, so it's great to kind of catch mistakes. Yeah, and definitely over on Sunday when I had a really bad run late in a tournament. Again, I've been running so bad late in tournaments. There are a couple of spots where I feel like I could have maybe just taken a little bit more of an aggressive action. One of them definitely cost me a huge pot. I raised King 7 of clubs under the gun. Very short stack, ripped, whatever it was, like 10, actually like 8 bigs or something like that, 6 bigs. I wasn't really going anywhere with King 7. But then the big blind who had me covered just flatted, and my instinct was just to rip it right there. Go for the dead money. Don't have to, fight 3 people for a pot, especially deep in a tournament. But I decided just to call. He ended up flatting with 9-7 offsuit, which just gives you some indication of how live players play. It's really, really tough to play against these players. Like the last thing you want to do, you got an under the gun raise, you got a short stack ripping, and opens it up for me to re-raise, and he flatted with 9-7 in the big blind, which just doesn't make any sense at all. But you would think that's a great spot for me with King 7 versus 9-7. But what happened was the board ran out of straight, except that the 9 gave him a higher straight than my 7, and ended up losing a much bigger pot than I should have there. And I ended up eventually like busting from the tournament. But very, very annoying. Yeah, Fausto, you guys would definitely make me work extra tonight. I had to make up a whole bunch of stuff to talk about for this extra, 15-minute delay. I wish we could have started this a little bit faster, but it looks like we got 1 more minute before this match starts. Or actually, it looks like here. Oh, that's a match 1. So match 2, actually, wait, another 2 minutes and 5 seconds. I'm looking at the wrong, let's see, where is this here? 1 minute. No, wait, no, 1 minute. So we got 1 more minute before the action starts up again. It's going to be a really great matchup, though, between Fausto and Beth. Teacher against student. But Beth has definitely grown in her own right to become a crusher of her own. I think Fausto himself will tell you he's not going to take all the credit for Beth's success. She is definitely a fantastic player, fantastic poker player. Fausto, man, you still owe me another 10-minute poker tip episodes. Hopefully we can get you back on there in the next week or two. Think about some cool hands that you played and anything you went deep in. Pretty sure people would love to hear your thought process, or maybe even throw some hands that you played from tonight if you found any of those interesting. I think we don't actually have any heads up content on 10-minute poker tips so far. So this, by the way, is a ongoing home game that Franklin runs. Started off with mostly just mixed games. I think maybe all mixed games. Do a couple of tournaments a week. Lots of fun, low buy-ins, good learning grounds, and a lot of LA regs are in there playing. They decided to do this heads up tournament, which was super fun. Can't wait for the next one of these. I think I'm going to request best 2 out of 3 for the early rounds as well. Because Beth just bounced me real quick in round 2. Looks like we are starting, so let's get over to this window capture. Let's grab, where are we? Beth versus Fausto. Here we go. We got a board of 7 of clubs, 6 of clubs, 3 of spades, queen of hearts with Fausto on the button. Beth. So Fausto goes for 2x pot, putting Beth in the blender early, and Beth goes for the raise. Maybe we're going to end round 1 a lot earlier than we thought. What is happening here? This is hand number 1, and Fausto rips, snap call, queen 7 against a straight, and we are done in one hand. Unbelievable. So now we're going to have to wait another 10 minutes, Frank? Well, that was incredible. What the heck? Man, I wish I had taken a screenshot so we can look at that. So it looks like Fausto just freaking flopped it on the button. And probably a check call from Beth on the flop. And then the queen on the turn gave her 2 pair. And it's really, you can see heads up, it is really, really hard to fold hands. It is very hard to make hands. You're often bluff catching with ace high, king high, sometimes queen high, bottom pairs and things like that. So that wasn't exactly top 2, but it was like top and middle. Too strong of a hand to go with, and also it was a little bit of like a very hidden straight. So don't fall Beth for that. Yeah, that's unfortunate because you are also beating, ace queen, king queen there. You're also beating lesser 2 pairs. Obviously losing the straights and sets, but you can't be, monsters in the bed all the time. Very unfortunate first round, 1 hand for Beth. But, there's still another 2 rounds for her to be able to make it back. All right, Frank, did you already fire up the second table? I really wish there wasn't this 10-minute delay. I wish we can just jump right into it. Or maybe we could just start, maybe you can just start round 2 and then start round 3. And then, I don't know. If they finish early, they can just jump in. But yeah, so it looks like Fausto has taken now he's already the odds-on favorite in the poll at 46% to win this. So he has put himself as a favorite now, already up 1-0 on a best out of 3 match against Beth. So now Beth has to win 2 in a row against Mr. Crusher, Mr. Fausto Valdez. It's going to be a very, very long uphill climb for her, but somebody can do it. It is Beth. She is a fighter. She is a fantastic poker player, fantastic heads-up player to have made it to the finals. So looking forward to this next round and seeing what happens. It's Fausto. We got Anthony laughing in the chat. All right, so it looks like Frank is fired up. Oh no, he has not fired it up yet. Have you fired it up yet? Looks like Frank hasn't fired up round 2 yet, but that should be coming soon. Oh, that was an explosive round 2. 1 hand and we were done. So let us know in the chat how you think this is going so far. Yeah, Fausto said we're just making up for missing Reg. All right, yeah, so you did kind of speed it up. But actually what you did do was made me have to fill more air faster, having only 1 hand to talk about, but that's okay. I'm good at just talking. And for those who didn't know, we also or kind of missed our podcast episode last week. We are sunsetting the LA Poker Roundup podcast, unfortunately. Ty obviously busy with the baby. I'm busy with a bunch of other projects. So we thought it'd be a good time to, maybe we're calling it a hiatus. Who knows what happens a little bit from now. I think we definitely filled the gap there for a while, needing some sort of presence of like media and coverage for the stuff that we're doing in LA poker community. Glad that we're able to be your voice to some of these casinos, having a little bit more reach with what we were doing with the podcast. And, I think we, affected some change. And we definitely brought out people. I think Mark Fiorentino had some great compliments for us, talking about how he feels like the community actually engages with each other more, because we felt like, we brought people together. So we're really glad that we had the opportunity to do the podcast. It's really, really sad that it's going to be ending, but we will be doing up to episode 100, which is, I believe, 3 more episodes, maybe 4 more episodes, which will be wrapping up basically at the end of the Commerce Hold'em series. But, me and Ty aren't going anywhere. Maybe do some spot commentary and reels and stuff on Instagram here and there. And then Frank, I think, will be continuing on with the Instagram account. I don't want to speak for him to say how long he's going to go with that for, because it is a ton of work, but it is something, he seems to enjoy, something he's good at. And definitely still continues to give a shine to our community. Looks like he has fired up Beth versus Frank. Oh no, it's still match number 2. Club lobby. Looks like we have Beth versus Fausto. Number 2, 7 minutes. So I got 7 minutes of air to fill. I don't know why PokerStars has this 10-minute delay. Do you know why, Frank? Like, why do they do that? Fule Regs mentioned that they would like to play the next Heads Up tournament, so let us know if you would like to join. Yeah, so basically, anybody else who's interested in playing the next Heads Up one of these, reach out to Franklin. You should be able to find him on the socials. C Cucumber something on FCP, I think, on Twitter, or just reach out to the LA Poker Roundup Insta account. That's probably the easiest way to reach him. Ask Frank and he'll just add you to the home games, or maybe, I don't know, maybe he'll fire up a different group for the Heads Up. I have no idea. But if you're also interested in playing mixed games, learning mixed games, reach out to Frank. More the merrier. But yeah, if you want in on the next Heads Up Championship, this is fun. Obviously, you're going to be running into a whole bunch of really, really good Heads Up players, but Heads Up is so much fun. Also really great to learn from. So while we're waiting, let's, here, let's hop over to X or Twitter. See what else has been happening in the poker universe this evening. So by the way, the WPT schedule just came out. So why don't we take a look at that? Where is the WPT account? World Poker Tour. Let's pop this guy out here. Let me put this over here. The full schedule is up. All right, let's share this screen so you guys you can see what I'm seeing. Window capture. Let's go to Google Chrome. Yeah, World Poker Tour. All right, it's taking up the whole screen, but that's okay. So it looks like the, I thought I saw the link to full schedule is here. All right, let's take a look at this. Necessary only cookies. That stupid thing from the UK where they did the, I forget what it's called now. But that puts that stupid warning about cookies every single website I visit. Just so dumb. Stuff they do over the UK is so dumb. They don't really understand technology whatsoever. WPT World Championship in Vegas. I'm going to also say I have a tremendous amount of respect for WPT, Matt Savage, all the people. Probably one of the most, if not the most respected operator we have right now. Their website is awful. It is so hard to find things, hard to navigate. Can't even find like structures and schedules and stuff like that. Like, I'm just trying to find your, like, your PDF image of the thing. I actually click the link and it brings me here and I can't find it. But anyways, I did actually see the schedule somewhere. Let me see if I can find it on X. I'll take the rest of the time just looking for the WPT schedule while we have 3 more minutes before the match starts. But if I can't just find your premier schedule off of your website, this is pretty dumb. Pretty dumb. Like, shouldn't that just be like your top results? So here it is, WPT Prime Championship. WPT View Complete Schedule. Yeah, I don't know how to find it. But basically, it looks like, at least, we can talk about this. The Prime Championship looks like it's going from December 7th to 12th. $5 million guarantee for $1,100 buy-in. Looks like on Twitter they said they were going to have some milestone satellites starting this month on WPT Gold. So make sure you look out for those to play some satis to get some cheaper buy-ins for this $1,100. And also, obviously, the big one, World Championship. 10K buy-in. They stopped giving the guarantee, but this usually typically gets up around like 7 to 10 million, 10 million, something like that. So definitely make sure that you are looking out for those getting out there. Obviously, they'll also be running a bunch of those satis over there in Vegas during the series as well. If you haven't played there, it is a fantastic experience to play at the Wynn and fantastic experience to play WPT events. They also had a lot of fun stuff happening while we were there. Had people in a booth trying to, like one of those booth machines where money was flying everywhere, and they're trying to collect the most amount of money to get out of the booth with. And then the players actually had an option to either be the one to take the money or be the one to just get whatever was left over. So lots of really fun stuff happening with the WPT. They're always thinking about cool stuff. All right. Let's bring this window capture back over to, well, actually, we have 1 more minute left. Let's close up this window. We got round 2 coming up between Fausto and Beth. Fausto taking the first round in a very unceremonious one-hand cooler. Flop the straight versus Beth's turn 2 pair. I expect a much longer match for round 2. Well, we will see how it goes. Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you everyone for watching. Thank you everyone for listening to me rant on for a couple of hours about Heads Up Poker and a bunch of other stuff. Super excited to see these two titans of the LA poker community battling it out for the Heads Up Championship. Frank, what was the trophy that you got again? Ring or a trophy or what? Over 2 hands, Fausto. Fausto's asking in the chat, over, under, 2 hands, definitely over. I will take the over for a lot of money. But I can't bet Fausto, though, because then you can just go all in on the first hand. So no bet Fausto. All right, looks like we are up and running. Let's get this over here. Anybody from WPT is watching, fix your goddamn website, man. Terrible experience. If you need help, let me know. I have a lot of experience in technology. Hold on 1 second. No capture. Did I do screen capture by accident? Video capture? Nope. Why is this WPT thing still here? Hold on 1 second here. That's weird. Oh, that's why. Okay, there we go. I was looking at the wrong table. Sorry about that. All right. So we have Fausto already taking out to a small lead. If anybody caught or anybody can tell me what the first couple of hands were there. But looks like Beth is betting pot on 10-5, 10 jack, 2 hearts, and takes it down. Frank said trophy instead of ring as voted by the final four, so it looks like we got trophy coming for the winner. Flop of Jack 5, 7, 2 spades. Fausto continues on the button and gets a fold from Beth. Again, we have teacher against student, but the student has definitely grown to the level of a professional poker player in LA, in my opinion. Fausto going for the 3x raise, interesting. I saw him min raising a bit before. I think my typical standard is to min raise in heads up even when we're very deep, but obviously it doesn't not make sense to raise a little bit bigger when you are very, very deep, as Fausto is doing now. 3xing. Looks like he's getting a 3-bet from Beth. I want to say Beth's 3-bet percentage isn't mega high, but she's definitely doing it, you know, probably close to an appropriate amount of time. Looks like she's continuing half pot on Fausto on 4, 5 king with 2 clubs. Fausto is thinking here and goes along for the call. 6 of spades on the turn. So now we have 2 flush draws on the board, potential straight on the board, and Beth is continuing the story again with another half pot bet. I feel like a lot of her standard bet sizing tends to be half pot. She's very consistent with that, so hard to, you know, really gauge exactly what she's doing when she keeps it that consistent. So it looks like it's either half pot bet or she's going to go like 1.5x pot. So you know, you're going to have to read into that however you can. Frank says, with hand number 2, we just set a new record for the longest LAPR finals match. That is true. That is very, very true. So 10, deuce queen, rainbow, Beth with the button. And a nice little comeback to claw back from her early chip deficit. Beth's half pot. Fausto finds the fold, and Beth continues on. So Beth, very impressive here. She, you know, got down and chips pretty badly to Frank, came back, got back down again, came back. So she's very resilient. Doesn't give up. Also doesn't just like panic punt her chips away when she gets short. A fighter. So you can see why Beth puts up such good results in tournament poker. And that's sort of the skill set and the instincts that you need to have in tournament poker. It is a lot about trip preservation and surviving, and sometimes buying yourself enough time when things aren't going in your favor to get better spots, to accumulate chips. Fausto continues on with half-size pot bet, king 3-8, called by Beth, 5 of clubs on the turn, bringing backdoor flush draw, backdoor straight draws. 9 of diamonds on the river. Feels like a blankety blank type of card, and looks like Beth is going to go for a lead, which is, you know, I think that kind of board runs out a little bit more in her favor after a check on a turn, and Fausto, the beast, decides to come in for the raise. He obviously been doing this with Eric, obviously been doing this with a very nutted type of hand, and looks like he was doing with air, and ran right into 2 pair of Beth, and Beth has taken a bit more of a lead. Yeah, you can see how Fausto is such a scary player to play against. If Beth didn't have 2 pair there, let's say she had like, you know, river to 9 with jack 9 or something, ends up being a very, very tough call because Fausto is repping very, very strong hand. So Beth on the button, jack 5, 6, 4, 3 spades. Check call from Fausto on the flop. Fausto decides to lead this turn, and he leads pretty big, about 80% pot. Gets the fold from Beth. Good board texture for Fausto to bet that on with the low cards, low straights, and the flush coming in. 3x on the button, called by Beth. King 7-6, 2 clubs, 1 spade. Check, and that seems like a very standard bet from Fausto on that board texture. Takes it down. Looks like he sized up a little bit there, so I'm not sure if there's a new strategy here with Fausto sizing up his bets a little bit, but we'll see. I mean, there was a flush draw on the board, so I guess it makes sense to size up. 3xing, and Beth folds. Fausto closing that gap, closing that chip deficit in a hurry. Beth limps the button. See if Fausto attacks these limps, and he does right away, instantaneously, 4xing it. Call from Beth. Beth's not going anywhere. You can't run Beth over. Ace of spades, 8 of spades, 4 hearts on the flop. Interesting check from Fausto. Half-sized pot bet from Beth, and she just takes it down. I think Fausto probably correctly read there that she had a pretty strong hand that she limped in with, and that was probably a texture that favored her. Fausto limps, and Beth now goes to the 3-bet, 3xing, gets the fold from Fausto. And it's okay. You know, again, just because you got the button doesn't mean you have to go crazy playing every hand. It also doesn't mean you have to go crazy calling every 3-bet. Heads up our chess match, and as long as you're not playing like a hyper turbo, they can tend to go pretty long, so gotta be patient. 9 of clubs, ace of spades, 10 of spades, queen of clubs. 2 flush draws, now the flush comes in, the front door flush comes in with the 5 of spades on the river. Lots of stuff happening on this board here. Fausto does decide to lead pretty big on a pot that should favor Beth. And looks like Beth has pulled it off with a king high. Was that what it was? Nice call. Nice call from Beth. Fausto got soul right there. 6, 5, 10. Fausto on the button. Rainbow. Check, check. Deuce of hearts on the turn. Seems like a board texture Beth should stab at, and she does. Half pot. Fausto with the call. King of diamonds. Beth bets again. Fausto feels like it's an ace high type of hand. Decide, let's see if he's going to try to call this down with ace high. He goes for the raise. Maybe he does not have ace high. And it's interesting with the metagame because last time he did this, he had nothing. But Beth does decide to give that up. Maybe she had nothing. What a battle. Fausto comes back. Not back to even in chips, but within striking distance. I want to say they're evenish in chips. Raise and take it down on the button from Fausto. Beth with the limp. Fausto does not attack this time. 9 of clubs, ace of hearts, 3 hearts. Check. Should be a bet from Beth. Half pot. Fausto goes for the call. Ace of clubs on a turn. Interesting card. Check from Fausto. I think Beth may check this back, although she should continue. Good job, Beth. Continue. She goes 60% pot and gets the fold from Fausto. Definitely that type of board texture favors Beth. Fausto with a limp on the button. Check from Beth. King of spades, 3 of hearts, 5 of diamonds. Bet from Fausto for half pot and takes it down. This is going to be quite a battle. So I think that one and done in the first round was a bit of a fluke. Obviously a cooler situation with a flop straight versus turn 2 pair for Beth, unfortunately. Ended it in one hand, but we are here on round 2 in the finals of the LA Poker Roundup Heads Up Championship. I am Derek Kwan, host of the LA Poker Roundup, host of 10-Minute Poker Tips. Please subscribe, check it out. Limp on the button, Fausto attacks again, 4x. 2, a flop of 7 deuce deuce, paired board. Fausto should be continuing here, and he does 60%-ish pot. Size bet. Feels about right. Although, you know, I think maybe, I don't know, it's interesting. Again, like Fausto is such a more theoretically studied player than I am. I feel like that's one of those 20-30% pot size bets, smaller, but he knows better than I. Queen of hearts, 8 of hearts, 5 of clubs. Raise and call pre from Fausto. On the button, he continues on. 2 heart board with another sizing up, but this one is a little bit more drawy board, so it makes a little bit more sense. Gets the fold, and looks like Fausto is clawing back to almost 5K in chips, almost back to even. Blinds have gone up, 25-50. What a battle. Fausto continuing on with the 3x, even with the escalation of blinds. Let's see if he gets to a min raise at what level. 4, 4, 5, deuce, 2 spades. Fausto continues with a 3rd pot size bet. Gets a call from bet. Jack of spades on the turn. Now looking at a very wet 3 flush board. Already got a pair on the board. Already got, you know, some straight possibilities, straight draw possibilities. 5 of diamonds on the turn after about another B60 bet on the turn from Fausto. Let's see if he decides to continue here. If he does continue here, it's very polarized. He does not. And looks like he read this correctly. And lost to trip fours from Beth. You know, Beth with her aggressive image could seek check raising on those flops. Sometimes people don't check trips enough on, or check raise trips enough on flops, which is why it's so helpful to have an aggressive image, because you need to have that aggressive image to be able to credibly rep that kind of stuff. So it looks like we had a click back 3-bet from Beth, very small pre. And she continues on with half pot on ace 4-4 and gets the fold. And it looks like she's pulling away again in this second round matchup. Bet the Star Hall, Hollywood Star. Fausto 4x 3-bet pre, 7-4-6, very wet low medium board, and I think, yeah, that seems right to check from Fausto. That is the type of board that Beth would be raise calling with, that would hit her. Fausto checks again. I think Beth can't let this go any further and needs to bet. Yep. And the Fausto does have ace-kingish type of hand, ace-queenish type of hand. If he does have ace-queen, he just hit the river. Definitely continuing on that turn in a heads-up match. Checks. And he does have ace-queen. And he throws a tissue box over at Beth. 3x pot, 3x bet on pre from Fausto on the button. Deuce ace 4 rainbow. 1/3 pot size bet. Beth calls 9 of clubs on the turn. I think Fausto does need to continue on this. He does not though, and he does check back. So maybe Beth is going to take a stab at it. I feel like she's going to get snapped, but let's see. Let's see. She bets a little bit under half pot, like 40%. Seems very value-y. And does get called by Fausto. Played the third pair with fours really well. Good showdown value, good read. And you can see, you know, how wide the ranges are pre and the type of hands you need to be able to call down with. You know, heads up is demanding, but fun, challenging. Purest form of poker there is, in my opinion. Fausto, 3xing on the button again, gets the call from Beth. Up, 9, king deuce, all hearts. You know, usually you're betting small here, and Fausto does bet small on those 3 flush boards. 1/3 pot, you can even go lower like a B20 if you wanted to. 3x from Beth, looks like she's gonna mimic some of what Fausto's doing. 3 of spades, 9 of clubs, jack of clubs. Beth surprisingly checks back that board texture. Maybe she's got a read, so Fausto checks again. 5 of spades on the turn. Now Beth bets. Beth is also a very tricky player. I, you know, sometimes just get completely lost in hands with her, where she will just, you know, check back an ace-jack type of hand and just value own you later in the streets. 10 of spades on the river. If Fausto wins it with a pair of 3s. So, you know, I think this is why it's important to bet, because a bet, like, basically you should be able to barrel Fausto off that hand on the turn. And if not, definitely you should barrel him off by the river. So that's why it's important to continue on those board textures when Fausto has hands like that that can win a showdown. Fausto betting a 3rd pot on ace 9-9, gets the call from Beth, 4 hearts. I think Fausto probably needs to shut this down unless he's got value, but let's see. Let's see. He does check. 5 of spades, and I think you got to lead this, Beth. And then Fausto has a decision with king high. He has an ace. Yeah, Beth is going at it. She's going at it with the bluffs. Fausto is catching her though, making some hands, making some good calls, taking some good lines, and letting Beth, you know, giving Beth a little bit of rope. Queen, Jack, 9, 4 checks through to the 4 of hearts on the turn. Fausto in the blind, considering a lead here, does go for the check. Beth goes for half-size pot bet. I think Fausto is probably going to give this one up. Doesn't really feel like, oh no, Fausto does continue. 6 of clubs on the river. Interesting to see what gets shown down here. Check, check. So Fausto did have a jack. Wasn't going anywhere even with a bet from Beth on the river, so good check back from Beth. Raise pre, take it down with Fausto. Fausto has reclaimed the chip lead. What a battle we have here in the finals. Beth going back to the min raise. Again, mixing up her raise sizing pre. I don't think we've, again, still seen enough showdowns for us to tell what's going on. Goes for half pot. 4-3 queen, 2 hearts, takes it down. Fausto with a limp on the button. Beth with the 3-bet, 3xing. You know, out of position, you typically want to go 3.5 to 4x. But, you know, 3x, not the end of the world. And obviously, you don't want to be changing your bet sizing based on your hand strength, or you're going to get exploited to hell. Poker tip for you. Deuce, 10-6. Looks like it was a 3-bet pot. Fausto does lead with half pot, a little bit over half pot. Does get the call from Beth, 9 of clubs. Will Fausto shut this down, or is he going to keep repping the overpair? He does shut it down. Check, check from Beth, and this may go check, check. And, you know, it's possible that Fausto is going to win this with an ace high. We'll see. Oh, and Fausto goes for the big overbet and gets a fold from Beth. Maybe Fausto had nothing. Hard to tell from such a good player. Fausto raising pre on the button, takes it down. Fausto now is pulling up to more of a chip lead. Beth is still obviously plenty healthy with 3,500 chips, 50 big blinds at 35.7. Oh no, actually we're still only at 25.50. 3-bet from Fausto, takes it down pre. Fausto with the raise on the button, and Beth comes back with the 3-bet, but again she goes small, but Fausto does give it up. So even when if a player goes small on a 3-bet, you might be incentivized to call in position, but you know, if you have a pure garbage hand like Fausto probably had there, you can give it up. Not the end of the world. 9 hearts, 3 hearts, 4 spades. Beth does check back after raising pre. 7 of diamonds on the turn. Actually, no, this is a limp pot. And Fausto goes for it, takes it down. I think limp pots and heads up are really interesting because then the ranges are like so wide. Obviously, you also go through those same situations in blind versus blind spots and MTTs. Looks like a single raise pot. 10, 3, 9, 4. Now 3 spades on the turn. Check from Beth. Check through on the flop. Check from Beth on the turn. And Fausto, yeah, probably bets here. He goes 2/3 and takes it down. I think good board to continue with a naked spade. And obviously any pairs, and you know, maybe you're checking back like a king high, ace high type of hand. Beth continuing on king deuce 5 with 2 diamonds. Half pot bet. Fausto goes for the raise and Beth calls. You could see a big one here. 8 of hearts on the turn. Fausto obviously going to be doing this with draws, doing it with some air. Putting king in a blender. Beth can obviously have a king, but could also have queens, jacks. Straight draws and flush draws of her own. Decides to now go for a half-size bet after Fausto checks her on the turn and she takes it down. It would have been pretty fun if Fausto went for the double check raise, but that didn't happen. Fausto raising the button, call from Beth. King, 6-8 rainbow. Definitely a board texture Fausto should continue with. Goes again, 1/3 pot. Call from Beth, 3 of diamonds on the turn. And Fausto probably should barrel this. And he does, and he goes big. Definitely very polarizing size bet on the turn. Designed to put those lower pairs and some of those draws in tough spots. Beth now going for the 3x instead of the min raise, getting a call from Fausto. All flush board again, 3 diamonds, jack, deuce, 8. Check to Beth, who bets half pot, gets a call from Fausto. 5 of diamonds on the turn, so now we got a 4 flush on the board. Will Beth continue to tell the story? She does not. She does check back 6 of spades. So now this could be Fausto's pot to take with the stab. He does go small. Sometimes you want to pile it in there on those 4 flush boards that put people on the blender. And he does get a call from Beth, and he wins it with a 9 of diamonds. Yeah, unfortunately, I can't see what the whole cards were for the loser, so don't know if Beth had a flush there or not. But maybe with the rate in which she called, or the speed in which she called, she did not, but, who knows. One looks like Beth going for the 3-bet again. This time she does size it up. A little bit over 3x pot, so a little bit more appropriate. Looks like she's going about half pot again. On a board of 9-6 queen, rainbow, gets the fold from Fausto. Again, here is Beth battling back after falling to, pretty severe chip deficit. Fausto continuing on with the, actually no, so now he's, getting it down to a little bit over 2x pot. So it looks like at the 70 big blind level is where Fausto starts sizing out his pre-flop bets. Looks like Beth 3-bet this hand and pots it on 9-3-6. Fausto goes for it all. This is it. I think Beth has a very strong hand here. And the way that she's tanking feels like maybe she has 8s, 7s, and has to decide if she's losing to that 9. But Fausto obviously has flushes, flush draws, straight draws, air. She does give it up. I wonder if she did give up maybe a hand like 5s. I feel like maybe you need to call. So here's the tough thing too about, best round of 3 when you've fallen behind one, because you lose that one, you lose, the championship. Instead of having 1 life left. So definitely a tough spot. Looks like Beth continuing on with the C-bet on queen 4-8, 2 clubs, takes it down. What a matchup we have here, folks. Fausto, the coach Valdez, Beth, the star hall. Fausto is now min-raising at the 70 big blind level. Takes it down pre. So learn something new. So you can watch good players like Coach Valdez play, and it looks like he does tend to go a little bit bigger when the stacks are deep, and then start min-raising when the stacks start getting a little bit more shallow. Makes a lot of sense. I think that seems pretty common. 10 of spades, 8 of hearts, deuce of clubs, 6 of hearts, checks all the way through to 8 of diamonds on the river. Who wants to stab at this pot? And it looks like Fausto's going to go for it. Gets the call, and he gets value with the deuce, so it looks like she got called by ace high or king high. Good value. That was definitely value from Fausto. I've seen Fausto make some really sick value bets that I just would not take in live tournaments sometimes, where he's just like betting 3rd pair on some super wet board and getting called and just flipping his hard cards over triumphantly. 6-6 player Fausto is. Min raise on the button looks like a click back, so bets, 3-bet sizing, definitely interesting. And then Fausto is just going to go for it and gets the fold. So maybe Fausto knows a little bit more about what the bet sizing means with Beth than I do. But, this is why you can't be mixing up your open sizing and your 3-bet sizing. Try to keep it consistent so that it doesn't tip off your hand strength. And that kind of goes to your post-flop bet sizing as well. Your bet sizing means a lot. Especially to very good observant players who knows what those bet sizings can mean. Looks like a limped pot pre, and Fausto takes it down with the stab on a board that obviously favors his button range. So Beth is in trouble, down to 20, not that much trouble, like 22 BBs, it's fine, still plenty. Pots it on ace, 10-5, 2 spades, takes it down. Yeah, so, at this stack depth, though, she is going to get jammed on by Fausto quite a bit on his raises. It's very, very tough to play against that with your tournament life on the line. I really am interested in what the hand was with a 9 high that she, obviously went for a big 3-bet pre and then I'm folding to that jam from Fausto. Maybe she was just tanking with an ace-king type of hand. Who knows? 438 in the pot. Beth goes for half size pot bet 5-3 queen. I feel like the hammer's coming, and it is. Yeah, that seems like the type of board texture that they take the hammer on. Looks like, well, we got 2. Oh, and Fausto hits a dominated flush draw, turns the straight, wins the championship. That was very, very lucky. I don't know what the equity on that hand was, but he was in deep doo-doo with the lower flush draw, no pair. But he did have the straight draw to bail him out, and he did. And that straight did come through. But congratulations on Fausto on the big win. Unbelievable. Just resilience from this guy, playing it all the way through, riding out that very early, tie run to, put some beats on Ty himself, but then definitely ran pretty well against Beth here in the finals. But very talented player. Beth, what a fighter. What a matchup. She played fantastic. Definitely should hold her head up high for, really going through some very, very tough players. I am trying not to toot my own horn too much, but I am a very, very good heads up player, and she basically just showed me the door pretty quickly there in round 2. Got all the way down to the finals, and ended up losing to Fausto, but that very, very tough player to lose to. But congratulations on all the participants. Congratulations to Fausto for the big win. Congratulations for Beth on the runner-up, and congratulations for all the people that made the Final Four. Frank Lynn too, #1 field reporter, and Ty the voice Dobberden. What a fun stream this was. What a fun matchup this was. Thank you everyone for joining and watching and listening to me drone on. We're definitely going to be seeing all these crushers back at the tables again soon. Again, if anyone is interested in playing the next Heads Up Championship of these, reach out to Frank Lynn. Just hit him up on the LA Poker Roundup account. He's the one that basically runs all our chat anyway, and he can get you in there for the next one of these. So everyone, thank you for watching. Fausto's asking Frank if he personally delivers the trophies. I think what we did last time was you made me as the number 3 POY present Elvin the trophy. So maybe in this situation, you should have Beth. So Frank give it to Beth, and Beth should grant Fausto the trophy for extra pain. But hopefully we'll see Fausto taking that picture with the trophy at one of these events soon. Putting it up on Instagram account. Definitely hold your head up high, man. That was definitely a very, very tough group of players that you got through to win this Heads Up Championship. And hopefully we'll have more of you in the audience at the next one of these. All right, so I am gonna shut it down here. I have a little bit of a sore throat from talking so much, but thank you everyone for watching. Thank you for all the participants for playing, and I will see most of you at the tables with the people in LA. If not, definitely give your shout outs to Fausto and the rest of the crew. Let us know how you liked it in the chat. Anybody who missed this, this will be sitting on the LA Poker Roundup account under the live streams to check out anytime you want. So thank you again everyone for watching, and hopefully we'll see all of you